Hello, and welcome to the Humanity, where we do the things with stuff for the people. I am Matt.
And I'm Tommy. That sounded a little more jovial this evening. That was good. Had a little pep to it.
My camera
Yeah.
looks hazy.
Wow,
Let me rub things on it.
that's what she said.
Yeah, it's better. Owen's been borrowing my computer, and when does the greasy sticky age end? Like,
I'll let you know when I get to it. Ooh,
you
someone having a rave back there.
no, damn smart bulb from China.
Nah, China.
Quality
Tariff
control is a bit iffy.
Yeah, it's all right. Trump was going to tariff the shit out of that stuff, so it'll be cheaper or something.
No,
I don't know. He seemed to know what he was talking about.
look a little dark in the background today.
Yeah.
On the
That's all right. It might be a little appropriate for tonight's topic. It's unexpectedly dark, perhaps. So tonight we're talking.
We'll make it funny.
Yeah. But I think part of the purpose is also to like make it darker than maybe not make it darker, but point out how it's maybe darker than those some would have you think. Formerly us. Anyway, so the topic tonight, evangelism. So I think that's something that's certainly as a Christian you kind of view as like, oh, this is like one of the most important and like nicest and loving things that we do, like sharing the gospel, which, as they like to say, means good news because, it's one of the many things they stole from the Romans, but they don't like to talk about that. But so what we want to talk about tonight is not only that the news itself that they're sharing like isn't necessarily all that good, but more importantly, the tactics and like the method by which they share it can be rather exploitative.
Yeah,
a word meaning it exploits people and is of such things.
Yeah, I think exploitative is one of the. Yeah, I think it's just one of those words that sounds wrong.
Yeah, but I'm going to say it anyway because it lets me say the word tit in the middle of it.
So anyway, what are you drinking?
So tonight I'm actually doing something a little special. So because I'm having two beers, and they're IPAs, and you're probably saying, Tommy, like, what's so special about that? You always have at least two beers, and they're always IPAs because you're like the most basic of like craft beer bitches, and that's just what you drink all the time. Well, but tonight, what I'm doing a little special is I'm having two at once, but like not like mixed together, more just I was interested to do a comparison. So what I'm comparing tonight is the classic OG Stone IPA. Like when people think American IPA, this is like, the gold standard, at least as far as the West Coast style is concerned. And to compare with that, I have one of our very own local Mad Tree Psychopathy. Now I've had both of these obviously, but I never had them like with each other, like back to back or whatever. So I can do a nice little comparison, and then I'll let you know my findings. So I hadn't planned it this way, but to share the good news of beer comparison with the people. That's my gospel. So how about you, Matt?
Well, I also have two IPAs. So this one is called Chapters of Repugnance, which goes well with tonight's topic.
Yes, because we were considering titling the episode that, but I was like, this partly me because like I do get a little picky with the titles. I like for it to be at least somewhat apparent what we're talking about, because otherwise that's a perfect title. But
it also works well with the beer because it's a double dry hop India Pale Ale with milk sugar. So it's what's called a milkshake IPA. It's a dumbass name. I hate it. Yeah. Also, I don't know anybody who likes like a double IPA, like double milkshake IPA, who like is proud of themselves for liking it. Like a regular milkshake IPA where it's like lower regular alcohol and you got a lot of people doing that. But then there's just a lot of beer flavor when it's a double. And yeah, I'm always a little upset with myself when I like one.
Yeah, it hurts a little bit on the inside. But
and then I got the next one I got lined up is from Drecker, and it's called Eager Eyes. Which that's what evangelical apologists have when they are like debating somebody in public, evangelizing, but it's really just like a dick measuring contest against somebody who didn't know they were having one.
Oh man, or I was thinking like the eager eyes, that's what they get like when they hear someone like, "Ooh, someone's not saved, but they just went through a terribly tragic life event that I can exploit to share the good."
Yeah.
Get that look. Yeah.
Can someone say slow pitch softball? I mean, man. Amen.
So anyway, so I guess maybe start off. I promise I'm not going to make tonight's episode a complete beer comparison, but it's so offhand things to notice. So this is the Stone over here on my left. You're right, and then here's the Mad Tree. I don't know how well you can tell. The Stone a little darker, a little.
Is
darker.
It a little clearer too?
It's hard to tell because my glasses, they're just getting all the condensation on them, so it's a little hard to tell. But
I like the color more on the Stone.
Yeah, that's for sure. No, and also a little better, slightly better head on the Stone as well. It's gone down a bit, but the Mad Tree, that's pretty much what it was the whole time. But let's see on the nose.
I'm gonna guess the body on the Stone is a little bit thicker, heavier.
A little bit, yeah. And as far as the hop aroma, about pretty similar, but I'd say the Stone maybe goes a little more on the earthy, piney, where the Mad Tree's a little more floral, citrusy, and kind of thing. So yeah.
Mine has a good blend of the two. There's a lot of citrus, but there's also that the pininess, the lighter kind of piney flavor. And it blends real well. So it's it's the same flavor. It's a new flavor.
Very nice. Now,
a little bit of juniper. A little bit of juniper on the belch.
See, they never have that as part of the tasting notes. What's it like on the belch?
Yeah. But sometimes it's not good. Every now and then.
Yeah, but from initial sips, I'd say the Stone is maybe a bit smoother. But it's maybe just because it has a little more body to it. Now, with the color and it having more body, I would have assumed, probably higher ABV or alcohol as well. But actually, they're both exactly the same. It's 6.9%, which is exactly 10% of nice. So, yeah. But, yeah, which also maybe a little lighter. The Mad Tree also, it just feels a little more carbonated as well. I don't know if it actually is or if it's just a lighter body, so the bubbles become more noticeable. It's trippingly across the tongue, or playfully, perhaps. I don't know. This is getting weird. All right. Anyway,
so we're talking about, as I flip my phone over loudly next to the microphone.
First, real quick, you mind if I plug Hugh for a second?
Hugh, what?
So, a couple days ago, when was that? Monday, Matt actually came over and did some work for me here in my house. For those who remember, Matt does the handyman work. He did quite a bit of stuff on my house when I bought it first, last year, a little over a year ago. And then he's did this whole thing. All right, here's all the stuff I'm doing. Then after he did all his work, and I was all right, now tell me some other stuff that still needs done and I can get to myself. He's okay. So he gave me this whole list and I did precisely none of it. So now a year later, I'm having him come back over and say, hey, yeah, can you do this? That'd be great. So yeah, it started some work in my bathroom the other day and highly recommend. So everything's still working.
Good. That's good.
So
that's what you want a toilet to do.
Yeah. doing its job, and it's not rocking anymore. Like it actually feels solid, like sitting on it. And when I get up, it doesn't make like this burn, like clanging noise against the wall behind it, which is great. So,
yeah, yeah, you don't have your moment of peace then.
yeah, peas. And also like it's not leaking down the stack into my garage anymore either. So anyway, enough about my toilet and leakage and whatnot. So yeah. So tonight's topic, evangelism. So,
I think there'll be. I think there's going to be a colonial theme in there too.
Yes.
Colonization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because something I've been thinking a lot about the topic is especially. I mean, I don't know how much of this.
We could react to some stuff too.
Ooh, I'd have to go
on a little hunt.
Yeah. We could. I'd have to just go like grab my monitor so I could have that set up, but that wouldn't take too long. If we get to that point, we want to. Yeah, that's certainly. I probably should have went ahead and set it up anyway because yeah. Oh well.
There is some stuff. I'm sorry, I interrupted. You were saying something.
No, it was just me saying like I probably should have set it up anyway because I figured that'd be a possibility, but I just didn't for some reason.
No, I
but
meant before that. I interrupted and said something about colonialism and.
Oh, I think I was just actually about to like ask you. So, Matt, what are some of your thoughts? Because the idea for tonight's show came from like Matt texting me, like he just had a statement or like a couple of things he was saying about evangelism. Like, that's good stuff. Want to talk about that? So I thought we'd talk about that, like you were saying with like the colonialism stuff. Also getting into this was what I was saying. So you did interrupt me, damn it. I don't know how much of this you've got, but I know like from my end, like since and very publicly no longer being a believer, it's like seems like all these like Christians, it's died down. Like I haven't really had to deal with it for a while, but like it seems like
they unfriended
people
you
I hadn't.
Probably.
No, a lot of them haven't. Like that's been like actually kind of surprising. Like going back like over, like I'll see like someone like liked or commented on a post, or I'll still see them in my feed and like, oh, they haven't unfriended me. Like that's actually impressive. But then there's also been some people who have unfriended me who like it's really like baffling to me because even like because I remember some of these people like even when I was like initially like sharing a lot of my like thoughts about like deconverting and why and all the issues I had with Christianity, something like they would even sometimes comment and say like, oh, that's a really good point. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. It's helpful, whatever. Well, but then go back later.
You introduced the slippery slope to them, you know.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh wait, I have no control where this ends once I start asking questions, and that's kind of the point.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so that's been one of the fun things about deconverting is like now like being on the other side of evangelism, like seeing what that's actually like to someone. Now maybe it's a little different for me, like knowing what Christianity is and like knowing for sure that I have absolutely zero interest in it. I mean, it might be different for someone who is like never really thought about it much, or maybe is kind of curious about it. So maybe they might appreciate someone like just approaching them randomly or not so randomly, and just telling them all about it. Like, I don't know, but I know for me, it's one of those things where I've been like, was like feeling things at the moment, but then like the more I'm like listening to other like atheists or former Christian voices and like following different people and seeing a bunch of memes or whatever the case may be. But just coming across the idea of making someone else's story like your responsibility, basically, how it's like you're just viewed as an opportunity for them to, I mean, essentially just make themselves feel better or feel like they've accomplished something or they're doing their job by, trying to,
or leveraging somebody else's life or pain, for their purpose, their use. That's and then there's the colonizer tie-in. Like that's that's what you do when you go into somebody else's land and you're like, this is mine now, and
Yep.
this is mine now. I'm gonna use it. We're gonna use it. You
Mm-hmm.
can come too, but you're gonna have to get on board with all of our things,
Yeah.
or we could just kill you.
Yeah. So I guess it's kind of appropriate that we did this episode this week, seeing that a couple days ago on Monday. Is it still Columbus Day, or has it been? I think it's been changed to Indigenous Peoples Day, or at
Yeah.
least was formerly Columbus Day. So yeah, because I mean,
And
if you think about it,
why are the conservatives so mad about that? I don't understand.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I mean, the Italian Americans, I can understand a little bit because wasn't the Italian by way of
yeah.
Spain?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was Italian, but I think he was over here like for like the King and Queen of Spain.
Yeah,
Or something.
because
Yeah.
Italy was like no. One,
like we've tried.
even though we're a peninsula, we really have not much of a navy.
It's like, look, we've tried the whole empire thing before. It's
then they tried again.
But
World War I, World War II.
Yeah, that's true. Damn.
Look at him now, a powerhouse of pasta
and scooters.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's kind of similar. Like talking about like the colonial language and attitude of evangelism, kind of like making someone else's life all about like what you need to come in and do. It's similar to how like I've seen people saying things about how like it's actually pretty insulting to like the Native Americans, or they weren't American, like the native tribes who were already here in what we currently call America.
I like the term Aboriginal. It's the original. That's what that's what they are like. You could say Aboriginal Americans.
Oh, okay. Because I heard that applied to like folks over in Australia. I thought that was specifically them. I didn't know if it was like a general term.
No, I'm sure they have their own name.
Yeah.
And nice of us, we gave them a new one.
Yeah.
The whiteys.
Right. Yeah, but at least the name we gave them kind of makes sense, because it's still like, even back when in my more conservative days, when I like didn't really care about being like politically correct about any of this stuff, even and was still like not anti-colonial and all that stuff. Like even like as a kid, it just bugged the crap out of me that we call them Indians. Is like learning why we call them Indians, like because Columbus thought he was in India. And I'm like, that's just wrong. It's stupid. like we know they're not Indians. Why do we still call them Indians?
Well, Tommy, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna call them Cheyenne or Cherokee or Shawnee or Pawnee? Like, what are you gonna do? Call them by the name they call themselves? Come on, we got to use a slur.
No, but
might as well be one that's wrong. I mean, since we're already not calling them what they call themselves.
Yeah, and so that's why I typically just use the term Native Americans, but then I was having this conversation with some people I happen to be related to, which is fun. Like, oh, what do you mean? Like, can't call them Native? Like, I'm Native too. I was born here. Like, but at the same time, like, well, just calling them Indians, it was just like for less confusion. Like they literally said it was like to help with confusion. Like, but that's more confusion because you're calling them Indian. But I'm like,
what if you call them the actual Americans?
Yeah, I like that. But they're saying like, no, you can't call them Native Americans because like we're also Native Americans, so that doesn't make sense. Well, it makes more sense than calling them Indian. So,
right. And also, that's not what the two words together, Native American, is understood to mean. So yes, you are native to the United States and an American, but you're not a Native American because that's not how the definition works.
Right. Yeah. Which. Yeah.
Also,
but anyway.
Also. Just. It's also a little bit of a slam to everybody who we like. There used to be, what was it? There was something like 8 million, 16 million, I don't know, multiple millions of native people in North America, and within 100 years, there was 250,000. That's the biggest genocide, like by
You said
any colonial.
there were how many originally?
Fuck, I don't remember. It might have been 16 million, might have been 8 million.
Okay, so multiple millions. Yeah,
Right. No,
like even if it was just 1 million down to 250,000.
Right.
I mean,
And
that's
so I'm not saying we need to like compare genocides and like figure out like who has the, like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's not to belittle any other group that was exterminated, but
right.
it's weird that like
I
in our
thought you were going to
country
say
and
sorry. I
like
thought
we
you were
didn't
going to
learn
say
that in school.
not to belittle any other genocides. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but we didn't learn. Oh yeah, sure. We learned in
Mhm.
school that like Native Americans were driven out and all that and treated terribly and Trail of Tears, but it's so short, and it's not like
Yeah.
it's never called a genocide, and that's absolutely what it
Yeah.
was by today's standard. And numbers of how many the European colonists killed is not discussed, but we totally have a good estimate.
Hmm. Yeah, and because growing up, I went to a Christian school, so there it was like framed more like, yeah, but manifest destiny though, which people unfamiliar with that, it was the view that some people, like the original colonists, had, that it was God's will for America to spread from like sea to shining sea. That's where that phrase comes from. Like, so it's like, yeah, it kind of sucked for the Indians, but hey, this is what had to be done because now we're America and it's great and Jesus loves us and this is what he wanted. And hey, we didn't just kill all of them. We gave them reservations and like,
That are
so
forever shrinking even to this day.
yeah.
They're
And
like,
plus
oh,
they
there's
also,
copper on your reservation. Okay. Well, we're gonna take that, right? I know,
Mhm.
sacred, but we're gonna give you the an equal number of acres, maybe hopefully adjacent to your current reservation, but it might also be across town. It kind of depends. That one can be sacred now too. Like telling somebody else how their religion works. It's so patronizing.
Yeah, which again, like so many parallels to evangelism, there as well. But real quick, I do want to say, speaking
Oh,
of
wait, one
like,
more thing. Also, Native Americans to this day are still wards of the federal government. And
yeah,
if they
there's that
want,
too.
they don't really own their own houses. Exactly. They don't own the land that it's on. If they want to build a new house because there aren't enough houses, um, we can pay for a house to be built. But once it's built, the federal government owns it because it's on federal government land. What do you want them to do? Like they can't get
Yeah,
confusing. And you own the house, we own the land. And it's like, no. How about just the tribe owns the land, fuckers? Like,
yeah,
why is this? Yeah, and the doctrine of
yeah,
discovery is still to this day again um, part of U.S. law. Like, it's mine now. I take it. Is still part of U.S. law.
mm. Yep, yeah,
It's what we call legal.
yeah, right. Um, but speaking of, well, like, why do some conservatives want to hold on to Columbus Day? I think it's just like tradition and like it's almost like, because like before, like there was this controversy about it and people started actually talking about it. Like the only reason I ever knew it was Columbus Day is because people would start arguing about it. Like no one actually does anything for it. So I saw it online. Someone like shared like a screenshot of this post and like some conservative dude saying like, I'm going to keep observing Columbus Day. Thank you very much. Someone replied, how do you observe Columbus Day? Like go to the store and get lost looking for spices? Which
It's
that
like,
was one of the
and
most.
then like what everybody's supposed to be like, oh no, don't do that. And they're like, fine, do it. No, but who cares? Do what you want. Like,
Yeah, it's It's just so dumb. But
who does that hurt?
yeah.
How is that fighting back? I don't.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like what's the point? It's just making yourself feel better. Which again, so this it's another parallel to how evangelism's like colonialism, like in that idea of like making it all about you. Another point I've seen people raise like in the whole like Columbus Day or like Indigenous Peoples Day thing is just making the point of how insulting it is to the people who were already here to say that Columbus discovered this place.
Well, that's kind of with the doctrine of discovery where hold on, I'm looking for my vape thing.
Yeah.
You have wandered.
Right, I'll entertain myself.
No, you can.
Yeah, but
it's just yonder.
Yeah. Okay. But it's that idea of when someone is trying to evangelize to a person and making the target, I guess you could say, like their story all about the evangelizer and like what they're trying to do and accomplish. And because and again, speaking from experience, it's like, we think we're helping, like we think we're doing the right thing by evangelizing.
I am doing the right thing, Tommy.
Well, okay, yeah, you have a point.
Yeah, I win. Matt, the evangelist, wins. What have you considered? I'm right. Isn't that how they usually argue?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so but yeah, just that idea of not letting someone essentially just have like autonomy over their own story. Like you can't so again, for saying someone like me, it's like for all these Christians who tried to, bring me back, which first of all, it was really interesting. Like I said, these are all people like it's mostly like through Facebook or like messages or whatever. It's like these are people who, we were friends on Facebook, while I was going through cancer and like all that stuff. And none of these people reached out to me then, like, which is fine. I'm not saying they needed to. Like, I had plenty of support. Honestly, if I had any more, it might have been a little overwhelming. It was kind of getting a little overwhelming as it was because, I had like too many people like asking me how they could help. So I had trouble like remembering like and keeping track of who I'd responded to and what I'd which again, if that was any of you out there, like, thank you so much. But speaking of moving out to reservations, Tiffany in the house.
Nice.
Welcome back. How's Arizona treating you?
Hot as hell. Although it might not be, and it's not hot everywhere. Phoenix is balls hot.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, I don't know when you jumped on there, Kif, but yeah, we were talking about Native Americans and reservations and all that colonial bullshit. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So yeah, all these people like reaching out to me, all this who like were not reaching out to me while I was going through cancer, which again, fine. I wasn't expecting them to. A lot of these people are people I hadn't really even spoken to in decades anyway.
I don't think it's fine. I don't think it's fine. Somebody who knows going through cancer and like, yeah, it is. I heard it was especially hot recently in Phoenix, and I imagine anywhere near there is probably hot.
Yeah, beautiful mornings though. Oh, I can imagine. Well, and I've seen them. Like, I have been to Arizona. It's been 30 years now or something. But yeah, it's weird to be able to say something was 30 years ago and I still remember it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wait, no. I will say, like, I am bothered that people didn't like just say, "Hey, thinking of you" or whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I mean, I guess I appreciate that you're bothered for me, but I guess for me the reason was, like I said, like these are people I hadn't even spoken to in decades, so it's like I wasn't even.
I know, but
yeah, and it's not like, and also,
I don't know. It just like to me, like if somebody's going through something, it's just like, oh man, I'm really sorry to hear that. Like, hope you're well, and or something. And I don't know, just something.
Yeah.
It's just weird. People are kind of like, oh man, that sucks for him. Tots and pears, like to
Yeah.
themselves.
Well, I
They're like,
guess
they're like,
maybe
oh, I want. They just pray, but don't tell you that they're like, I don't know. That just
yeah.
it
Well, I
rubbed me
guess
the wrong
maybe it
way.
also doesn't bother me because knowing that like I don't do like the same thing basically. Like if I see someone like on Facebook and they're going through something, like again, if it's something that I'm not close to anymore, like I feel we at that point I feel weird reaching out just because I know like I don't really even remember this person. I feel like it might be a bit forward of me or whatever. I don't know,
Oh no,
but
I
here's
got you.
what did bother me. Like I said, that part didn't bother me that they didn't reach out. Well, what did bother me now, as soon as I'm saying, though, hey, I'm no longer a Christian, and here's why, like all the reasons now, like they're just coming out of the woodwork. Hey, Tommy, haven't talked in a while. I thought I'd reach out. Like, yeah, it's like, yeah, it was just so frustrating because it's like, because I know part of it, maybe just the way the Facebook algorithms work, like maybe they weren't even seeing a lot of the posts when I was going through cancer, but then maybe because I started mentioning like the Jesus and Christianity, like those posts started popping
That's
up in their feed
possible.
more. Maybe that was it. Because there was one guy in particular who like he was responding to a couple of my posts like, hey Tommy, like for some reason like your posts are popping up on my feed, like I hadn't really seen anything from you in a while, so. And it happened like twice, like both within like a couple days or something. So like, okay, maybe it's just something with the algorithm, but not even
It's
that. It's
it's so
just the
nice
fact
of it
that,
to like do things that are important to it,
yeah.
not what
but
you
but
might
for
think. Yeah,
yeah, but for me, the point was for whatever reason, these people weren't reaching out to me while I was basically going through hell. And if they just didn't really know what was going on, or obviously without talking to me, I guess they didn't fully understand the situation. So, like I said, I don't hold it against them, but like for whatever reason it was, they weren't in touch with me then. So they didn't really know what I was going through. But now they think they can speak into my life and tell me what I should be doing.
but see,
I'm like,
I mean, it's because you were a struggling believer, or you're done being a believer. I don't know which point this was, and
most of these were
and
when I was already done. Yeah.
and see, they're still in it, right? Which makes them automatically more an expert than you. Because it doesn't
Well,
matter who's more of an expert about your life when it comes to Christianity. The Christians are the experts.
right. Yeah. Because that's the thing I noticed. Like, because again, it's such a different experience being on the other side of it now, but also remembering back to my days as a Christian, it's like, because the attitude is like you have like the truth, like the capital THE truth with another capital T,
Registered trademark.
probably. Yeah, yeah, the truth TM. Um, so you basically feel entitled to essentially speak into literally anyone's life, even complete strangers, like people who don't like, because okay, based on what they're doing or saying, like I have an answer for that, I know what they should be doing. And obviously like the basic answer is, well, you should just come back to Christianity, and that's I mean that's a given, um but yeah, so basically
So
so I had to, like, on more than one occasion, just like put a post out there in so many words saying like, look, if you weren't there like with me when I was going through hell, like don't try to tell me I'm on my way there now. Or if you weren't there for my story and tell me how it's supposed to be going, stuff like that. So yeah, it was it was something.
this beer is really good.
Which one are you drinking
Man,
now?
it's the Chapters of Repugnance. It's the double
Ooh.
dry hopped
Oh, the
milk sugar one.
mm,
Best I've had.
mm,
Yeah.
all right.
And I did have the Evil Twin Brewing Company. They had a milkshake IPA, and I can't remember what it was called, but the name was trolling people who like milkshake IPAs, and it was really good, like all their stuff is. I wish I remembered. It was. It was kind of like, we see you, bro, and fuck you.
There just needs to be a beer called that.
What would it be? Like a Heineken clone or something?
If you could somehow make like a milkshake Heineken, that would be.
Oh man, that sounds terrible. I don't know why, but I just imagine it smells like asparagus.
I mean,
it has that cooked veggie smell that Dutch beers have.
Yeah, it's that very unique, like signature, really, like Dutch lager funk, but which almost sounds like a musical genre that I might be into.
Lager funk.
Yeah, Dutch lager funk. Yeah. See, unlike sugar,
would you play every show facing the audience, like away from him at a right angle? Like that's called the Dutch angle in videography. So you do every show just facing like the side of the stage.
Like even when he's talking to the girl, like, how are we doing tonight? Like, so just
and they just never explain. That would be amazing. They like let you figure it out.
Yeah, so Tiffany, if you're still on, if you're looking for more like side project music ideas, there you go. Let me know when you're playing and not looking at me.
So evangelism.
Yes.
All right. So like I grew up Catholic, right? When you're Catholic, evangelism is just weird. Nobody does that.
It's it's like tell other people to do this too. Like we don't even want to do this.
You just send the nuns out into a far land, to conquer it for Jesus. Like that was our evangelism. Just save their lives until they have no choice but to be Christians. Worked for Mother Teresa. Even though wasn't she like super homophobic or something?
Yeah, that's another one of the things, like since leaving the faith, like listening to like the more I learn about her, it's like
she had her moments for sure.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm not quite on like, to the level of like, your Christopher Hitchens is saying that she was just like flat out evil. Right, definitely not the, pardon the pun, saint that a lot of people make her out to be either. But
neither were the rest of the saints, I'm sure.
Oh, for
Except
sure.
for a couple. Like Francis of Assisi seems like, if you know about him, seems like a real decent guy. Also could have been gay. But
yeah.
I'm sure a lot of the fathers are into it. It's weird to call them fathers.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they're literally not allowed to be.
Mm-hmm. But they're big time Father God's representatives on earth, and so we call them Father out of respect to their vow not to be. And
now that I think about it, it's almost like you're taunting them. It's like, oh, hey, Father. Like, oh, like rubbing it in. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So evangelism was like weird. I didn't get it. That was when I was growing up, and then I became an evangelical, and then I was like, this is still a little weird. And then at some point, it made sense to do that. I think I was just convinced. I didn't do it. I hated doing the street evangelism. I did that, I think, 0 times. But it was always like a big deal, like Campus Crusade and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of like a nightmare for me, like as an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
like this feeling this pressure. It's like you need to be like talking to your unsaved friends and like every chance you get, or even like people at the grocery store, or like when you're just out somewhere, people at work, and it's like, which, it makes sense because like if at least the gospel we were preaching or trying to get people to believe like was true, okay, if they're going to hell, then yeah, then it's like, why would you not be like at every chance you possibly get trying to save people from that? Which is why even like some atheists like Penn Jillette, he says like he actually appreciates like Christians like proselytizing at him, or however he put it, because he's like, the way he puts it is like, because if you like, again, if you actually believe that these people are going to hell, like how much do you have to hate a person to not tell them? So
I kind of feel like maybe he has a thicker skin than most people. He probably does because he's a performer.
Oh yeah,
but
it seems like that's just his personality too.
Yeah, I get what he's saying. But like from being on the inside, I know that there's not most people are evangelizing because they feel like they're supposed to. Like they feel guilty if they don't.
For sure.
And it's about feeling good about what you're doing, or doing enough to feel good. And then, which is a little dark by itself. Like you don't feel good about yourself until you do enough, but it's not works.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then there are people who actually do it because they're actually concerned, and that comes across as much more genuine. Usually, it comes across as the person trying to win.
Yeah.
And that whole thing that always bothered me, even when I was into evangelical things or supporting them, winning souls for Jesus, or like winning people over for Jesus. It was kind of like, are we conquering individuals?
No, yeah. That's going back to the whole like colonialism thing. That's what it is. Like it's a conquest. Like you are winning. Like and they'll say it's like I'm winning souls, but no, it's like you're trying to win. Whether it turns into a full-on argument, but that's like it's basically like trying to win an argument with a person because you're trying to convince them of something. Because it's like, because like by your perspective, like it's almost like this thing I believe, like this has to be right. Otherwise, like I'm devoting my entire life to something that's not right or not correct or wrong, you might say.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure there. So again, that makes you wonder, like how much of like the evangelism is really for the other person, and how much of it is really for the person doing the evangelizing, just make themselves feel better, whether it's feel better for the accomplishment of winning souls, or make them feel better because like, well, if I can convince someone else that this is true, then it makes me feel more secure that it really is true if I can make someone else think it too. But
I guess ideally it would be mutual benefit or equal benefit, if it's a good thing. But it really there's just a predatory nature to evangelizing that I don't think you can get away from. Like if you're doing it on purpose and it's not just part of your personality, just what you do, it comes out naturally. Like if it's something you're doing intentionally, then there is kind of like a like a sales kind of predatory behavior. Like you're looking for the end. When like somebody says something that gives you the end to talk about it, you try to get them to say yes to something. Try to get them to agree with you first, and then because once they've agreed on something small, they're inclined to want to agree with something big, even if they don't agree with it, because that's just how our brains work. And so that's exploited by salespeople and church people and pastors too.
Oh yeah. For sure.
Like every sermon that a pastor gives, like it starts out like, "Hey, we're all on the same page. We're all buddy. I'm funny. You laugh at me," and like,
right.
And then you have that repertoire, and then he's like, he says something, hard truth, and it's like, I'm just telling you how it is, and just keeping it real.
God, yeah.
Said the guy who has enough time to like get muscles to fill out his shirt, and like and enough money to buy the shirt that flatter his muscles just so and don't look tight in all the wrong places. And
or like
person in mind.
Oh, you don't say.
But they're just a regular guy, Tommy. Just a regular guy with an awesome motorcycle that costs thousands of dollars. He just makes his regular guy making the same as one like a mid-level executive at P&G, doing things for the people at the church, and trying to end poverty with his 6-figure salary. Like, okay.
Or I'm not thinking of him necessarily, but also like other like kind of hip, trendy pastors, and they got their sleeves rolled up just enough so you can kind of see the edges of some tattoos they have on their arm.
Right.
I saw this one kind of parody video of a lot of like mega church, like more like trendy churches, like how they do their services, and so they're basically having people like go doing the things, but like that whole bit where like as I'm doing a thing, I'm explaining to you exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So got the one guy like, "Hi, I'm the hip trendy youth pastor, and I'm going to hold my arms out like this so you can see so you can see the tattoos on my arms, so I have a past." That's like, yep, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, also, I'm a little jealous that I don't have any tattoos, but I'm starting to get some ideas. I'm not starting to get the money to be able to afford them, but one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
I might get
watching
one of the ones my dad had.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
It was. I don't think the person who did it was very good. It looked kind of like a prison tattoo, honestly, but it was a red ankh, I think outlined in navy blue. And the ankh is the Egyptian symbol of life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
nice.
Also very symbol similar to the Coptic cross.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Another one like an idea I just got recently, like for people who are familiar with like the Dark Souls video game series, is the dark sign, but like specifically cool. the way it's depicted in Dark Souls 3, like near the end of the game, where it's like the sun's in the sky and it has the ring around it, but then there's that like single line, almost like it's dripping down from it, and then when you get to like the final boss area at the kiln, it's like, or like when you enter it, it's like it's like centered, and like that line is coming straight down to like where the boss is sitting, like next to the final, like the bonfire and everything. So it's like, yeah, because also for people who know like the significance of the dark sign in those games, like I still don't quite understand it myself, because the lore in those games is like confusing as fuck, but kind of intentionally so in a really cool way. But it's basically a sign that like Gwyn, like the main boss from the first game, had like marked humanity with it to kind of like contain their humanity, like to keep it from seeping out.
Neat.
Yeah, it was basically like a fire circle like on their chest or some part of their body, and then it's really cool. And again, like only the people who know the games will understand this also. This is why in like the DLC for Dark Souls 3, when you finally get to the Ring City, which are like, it's what like the Ring City is one of the things, from what I understand, it's like it's a part of the lore in the world that nobody knew existed before then, But then once they saw it, they're like, "Oh, this is amazing!" And like they thought it was like the coolest thing. Like, oh, but you kind of had this feeling like, "Oh, we're finally seeing this." But it's like finally seeing this thing that you never even knew existed in the first place. But it like anyway.
Yeah.
So then
No,
you
I
see
like
like the
that.
ring. Yeah. So you see like the ringed knights who are there, and they have that symbol just like as a part of their armor. It's like, and they're pretty badass looking anyway. But anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, tattoos,
Uh,
pastors being all
right.
like muscly, and oh yeah, they're like all salesman-y and getting their foots in the doors and
It
whatnots. And
it's a performance. It's
oh, for sure.
I mean, especially like at the church we used to go to, if you saw like if you there were multiple services kind of like one after the other when we were there, like there were like 3 on Sunday or something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were
Yeah.
there for the start of one of the other ones, you realized like it's the same speech given the exact same way, and like the music
Oh
is
yeah.
they're playing the same song the same way, and like it's a performance.
Yeah, because I found that out because I used to volunteer like with the sound team, so I would be there for Thursday rehearsals, and then like the day like because then they also did services on Saturday and Sunday. I think it was a total of 5 services across both days, plus the run through. So basically, like when it came to like the actual service, I essentially sat through it like 6 times over 2 days. So it's like, and it's like, yeah. I mean, now again, like this is one of the things like with Crossroads, like I guess I didn't have as much of a problem with that aspect as a lot of like other Christians seem to, because they're like, oh, it's just a show. I'm like,
It's,
I mean, I don't want to fault them, especially someone who would like from like what I studied in college and did some professional work in,
yeah,
you could say a media background. So I appreciate a well put on
it is a
media.
big production. I mean, not I don't mean that like as a slam.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot going on, and
Hmm.
you don't want it to go wrong while people are sitting there waiting.
Yeah, and also part of the reason, like when the run through, is why the pastor or whoever's speaking that weekend does just go through their entire sermon, because part of the people in the room, they have like part of their like pastoral staff and preaching teaching team or whatever, basically just making sure like whoever's speaking isn't like spouting like any heresies or anything that they just really disagree with. I get that, but yeah, but it's still like you said, it's still like, but just the way it's like down to like the jokes they throw in and like all the different like timings and cadences and like
Yeah, almost down to inflection and
yeah the pauses for like expected applause or laughter or whatever.
I think what bothered me about
Yeah.
it was the moments that came across as genuine were supposed to come across as genuine because
Yep.
it was part of
Because
the show.
yep,
Like
they're very good at performing to appear genuine. Yeah.
so I was like, I don't know now if that was genuine. Like I felt like I
Yeah.
was just sold a connection with somebody that wasn't I don't know. But at the same
Right.
time, it's how else in America at this point in history is the church service going to go? Um, it's going to look like a product or a show. like, um,
Right. Right.
but I leveraging somebody else's pain is super sinister.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, Also, this kind of ties in with the. We'll get there eventually. The colonial stuff is
Yeah. Yeah.
is that you cause somebody else a problem and then quote unquote rescue them from the problem you caused. Uh,
Uh, yep.
like there's a lot of hardships in America that wouldn't be happening if people were following the Sermon on the Mount. teaching. And people are like, "Oh, I lost my job, and like I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I don't really have a safety net." And because we live in a society where you got to wait for your safety net because they got to verify you need it.
Yeah.
And having been on the receiving end of that, sometimes the assistance comes quickly, and you're like, "Oh, that was awesome and surprising." And then other times you're like, "I need food assistance," and then they're like, "You've been approved. Your card that you can use to pay for the food that you need right now will arrive in 3 weeks." You're like, okay. What do I eat in the meantime?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can go to like the free store and like go like a soup kitchen and like, oh, because that's so convenient to go to a soup kitchen 3 times a day. Like,
Right. Like you're also assuming I have reliable transportation.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's all broken.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah. Oh, well, one of the things colonialism does, as far as like making problems for people, is um, they'll cause strife between uh, two indigenous groups that weren't having strife until the colonizers arrived, and they pit
Mm,
one side against the other, usually funding both of them, and then they come
right.
in and then they rescue their favorite and
Right.
genocide the
Yeah.
other
Sorry.
ones.
I'll be right back. I just need to turn down my thermostat because I'm getting warm. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, and that's also what people in politics do to the American people is pit the American people against each other for their own benefit. Um, and something it's like over 90% of mega donors, the largest donors, um, give to both parties, and
Yeah.
so those donors win whoever wins in the election. And
Yeah.
in the meantime, they tell us that like the other candidate is the end of America if they win, and the truth is they're going to be so similar that
Mhm.
everybody who isn't in the donor class loses in that
Right.
group of donors.
Yeah. This is a point I brought up more back when I like consider myself more like libertarian. Because again, part of the reason I left the Republican Party is because I realized they really like they talk about like being all like for small government and like limited government this and all limited control, less regulations and whatever. But what turns out is like they still wanted regulations,
Yeah,
different just different regulations. I mean,
got
and
to
that's why,
regulate the
like,
poor people and the darker skinned people,
yeah.
Tommy.
Yeah, but like particularly when it came to like, these
Another reason why we should never try to monetize this
no,
because I said
exactly.
those words.
Right. So
And the
thanks
algorithm
for
can't read sarcasm, so
right. Um, and I probably on the spectrum somewhere, so I can't always express sarcasm very well either. So fair enough, algorithm. I'm hard to read. Um,
well
but
played, algorithm.
but it's not just the Republican politicians, but even like these big businesses that like everyone's like, oh, these big businesses, they love the Republicans because they don't want regulations. No, here, the dirty little secret is like these big businesses, they do want regulations, but they want regulations that favor them.
Yeah,
This is what I said. Like, if these
yeah.
big businesses really wanted less regulation, they'd be giving all their money to the libertarians.
Yeah,
But they don't, partially because nobody gives all their money to the libertarians, because why would you? and they on principle shouldn't accept it anyway.
So like the tech bros that like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, they are more libertarian, but um, there's a neat special kind of fascism that it's libertarian fascism, and really what it means is like it's like fascism for everybody except the people at the top, because
Yeah,
I don't know why. because maybe it's left over from Christianity or from Judaism, where if you are super rich, it's because God has blessed you. So clearly, we should listen to you because God blesses you. And I don't know, but there is a kind of there's been a co-opting of libertarianism by kind of like oligarchic fascism. It's weird. Doesn't make any sense, but it's totally there.
Yeah, because I mean, because when you think about it, because this is something like, you know, before my anarchist days, but I've come back around to. It's like, look, it's like at some point, like humanity, like we were anarchist. Like there was a point in human history, like before any kind of like governments or the state or whatever had come into being, and we all kind of were doing our own thing. But it's like, but eventually certain groups took control, whether it was in the form of a state government or just the most powerful people around, and that's just kind of what became government. It's like, because I've even read things like Murray Rothbard's, you know, essays and writings on how he would like propose, you know, to actually form a stateless society. But it seems like and sure, what he described in some ways sounded good, but still in a lot of ways, like even like as an anarchist, I'm reading this and I'm like, this doesn't really make sense, but hey, I'm on board because it sounds better than what we got anyway. But it's stuff that sounds like, whether it was actually part of the plan or whether it's just like this, like looking at, okay, this is just what's going to happen. It's like whoever, if you remove, you know, the government, you know, as in, or the state, because they like to make a distinction between, because there's different kinds of governments, but there's the state, which is what most people just call the government. But anyway, but it's like if you remove that, it's like, okay, then whoever just has the most money and power is eventually just going to take over. So you basically have a de facto state at that point anyway. So it's like, so to me, it's like, it's almost like you should at least pretend to be like somewhat democratic and have like protections in place for people. Like, I know that's in large part not how our government actually works out, but yeah. So yeah, it's like you said, it just kind of ends. It's that's kind of part of what made me kind of sour on the whole like full like anarchist libertarian point of view. It's like, it's still like in principle, like yes, if that would actually work, I think that's the best way to run a society, is just completely voluntary. Because that's why I actually preferred the term voluntarist over anarchist. But yeah, but just like, and also I found that this is a dirty word in like libertarian and anarchist circles, but when it comes to what's practical, like it just doesn't work, or it hasn't, and they haven't shown any way that they can actually make it work. So
well, on behalf of, okay, so I've this, okay, I just started my other beer.
We're gonna give everyone a show here.
Ooh, gun show. This is really good. It's an IPA, but it has flaked oats as part of the malt.
Ooh,
yeah, it's got like kind of a meaty kind of something to it. So watching some there's a few leftists that I follow in regards to the Israel-Palestine thing. And one of them is an accelerationist, which is, I think, kind of a form of anarchy, but it's more like wherever we're going, let's just get there faster. Like the meantime sucks.
Right.
Yeah.
For some more than others. Yeah.
Also, if the people hit the accelerator, then the people in charge can't catch up. And I think that's a tactic.
No.
Then tables are turned and they have to respond to you. It's not completely turned, but there's a little bit of a getting the cart and the horse to change places, that kind of thing. So there are forms of anarchy that can work where you have kind of like I forget what they're called. councils or something, where it's things are kind of so like at the local level, it's a direct democracy, and then as you get bigger, there are it kind of becomes a representative democracy. However, the representatives are bound to carry out the majority decision of everybody below them. So it's not like we represent somebody and like they say they'll do this and well they don't fucking do it, or they're just enough that you think they're doing it, and then you look deeper, they're not. They're doing the opposite usually, or whatever is in their best interest. Right. And then you can't do anything about it until the next election, and even then, you can't do much about it in some places. If it's a presidential election, because we have the electoral college system, which is based on keeping slaveholders happy. Now we don't have any more of those, and haven't for quite some time. And it's like, we still need it. It's like,
yeah, but it's one of those things. Like I still, at least as it was expressed, like I get part of the rationale. Because it's not just about and it's one of those things. Like it's weird that like they just applied this to the presidency, like, and not like more things. If this principle was actually the rationale behind
weird,
it, but,
right?
but the rationale basically being, okay, it's one thing to say, okay, what representing the most people and what the most people want. What the electoral college was supposed to do, the way I would put it, is to represent the more kinds of people, or the more kinds of needs of people. Because if we elected our president by just a straight popular vote, then like every presidential election would be decided by New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, DC, like all the most heavily populated cities who have similar needs, but are very different needs than like rural America, where there are fewer people. But it's like, okay, then basically all the big cities get what they want, and rural America's fucked, basically. So it basically
not necessarily though, because a lot of because not necessarily because big cities tend to vote Democratic, and the Democrats tend to be better for farmers. Because they're more
it's not,
into
and it's not just
and,
I mean, it's not just farmers, but I mean, just people who live out in, what most people consider like flyover country. I mean, they're obviously not all farmers, but like I said, this is just like the idea. Now how it actually plays out, obviously that's going to be different. But like I said, the idea of it, it's like, so their interests have a little more. I mean, this was, I guess, maybe a similar idea to like how the Senate is like different than the House of Representatives. Yeah. So it's like,
but the rural areas tend to be conservative, and cities tend to be more liberal, and that's kind of how it's always been. And progressive ideas are called that because it's where the country's going. That's where we're progressing to, and so progressives and liberals tend to care more about what do you call it? Margins of society, and so the margins would be in rural areas. So I don't know. I don't know if it would work out that way.
Yeah. Like I said, I understand the principle behind it. Like at least that principle, like you said, there are maybe some other like more nefarious principles behind it as well. But anyway,
it's all tied into the 3/5 of a person thing for slaves counted for elections and representation and stuff.
Yeah, which this is something I actually found out only as an adult about the 3/5 compromise, and this is a complete tangent, but see, it was actually the southern states that wanted slaves counted as a full person, and it was the northern states that wanted them not counted.
Yeah,
like when I heard it talked about, it was more like kind of backwards. It's like, oh, the South didn't think slaves counted as people, so now slaves only count as 3/5 a person. Like that's really not what it was. It was the South wanted them to count as a full person. Not they weren't allowed to vote, but as far as their representation in Congress, they counted as more. But the North's like, no, if you're not going to let them vote, they're not going to count towards your representation here in Congress.
Right.
So, yeah. So,
but still, like at its heart, though, it's like, well, the slaveholders is going to they're going to be the custodians of the votes for their slaves.
yeah.
Like,
so
how
I
nice
guess
of you.
yeah, so I guess for me it was like, because like I heard people react to go, oh, it's saying that like the slaves are only 3/5 of a person, that's why it's wrong. It's like, no, you're actually kind of getting it backwards, and that's really not what it was. But it was still like, yeah, it had issues like for sure, but for different
the
reasons.
North is still incriminated in that, like,
yeah, basically,
because this question was still had.
Yeah, basically, it was like I found out why a bunch of people were wrong about a thing, and I wanted to talk about it. So that's
oh yeah.
Such is life. But speaking of evangelism,
do you want to look for some shorts or something to respond to?
Yeah, we can do that. There's a couple other things I wanted to like kind of talk about first, and then I'll get to that. So we kind of touched on some of this before, like, but just one, like the aspect of like this good news and like, or that, so-called good news. But then again, on the other side, realizing it's really not as good as they think it is, and like as they're trying to sell it. I mean, just for so many reasons.
Ray Comfort's like, a good example of what that looks like.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll definitely, like, here in a minute, I'll go grab my other monitor so we can get that all set up. But yeah, like now being on the other side of it, and like, again, going back to people thinking they know my life well enough, or not even thinking they know my life well enough, but just thinking that they have enough of the truth that they can, no matter what my life is or how much they actually know about it, they can tell me what I need to do anyway. Like, just it's just that assumption that, oh, you're no longer a Christian, oh, your life must be terrible now, and it's obviously going to be an improvement to your life to bring you back. But now being on the other side of it, just realizing, like, now sure, like I've talked about, like, since deconverting, that's, a lot of shit's happened and a lot of things become more difficult and whatever, but at the same time, there's so many other parts of my life and aspects of the situation where it's like, just when it comes to how I see myself, how I feel about myself, how I feel about life, and like my outlook and things, it's like that part of it feels so much better now. And like knowing what Christianity is, like in various forms, like I said, I was everything from like fundamentalist to universalist, and basically almost the whole, like, at least Protestant spectrum. I never was Catholic, I kind of thought I was interested in like Eastern Orthodox for a little bit when that seemed cool, but that didn't last very long.
There are cool parts, but the whole like they're even like heavier in the patriarchy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
The mysticism parts is really cool in Eastern Orthodox.
Yeah, if you're into that sort of thing.
I do like the mysticism of all the things.
The mystification of the stuff,
because it all breaks down and then becomes just mysticism, and I like that.
But like my life got to the point where I'm like, okay, what these people are trying to sell me, like, is what they think is an improvement, and like from what I see now is like, no, it's not. Like I feel like I literally cannot go back to that now. Me
too.
So
I don't want to, like, it doesn't work on me anymore. Like the methods and the word games and the fallacies. I
mean, and this could be, I mean, obviously, like, this is probably stuff we've talked about a lot, and there's so many topics that we could like be touching on right now that could be like their own episodes, but just from the aspect of like I said, like how good they think the news is versus how it actually is. And like, in case anyone's wondering, this is me like mid-sentence, I forgot where I was going, so now I'm talking more to try to bring myself back, and it's not working.
You can do it. All. You can do it.
What was I thinking of? Damn it. So we're talking about
I
how
lost
like
my
where my
train of
life
thought
is
now.
now, where my life is now, can't go back. The way I see things now, the tactics used, something related to like the tactics they used, like knowing what those tactics are now.
But the
But now I feel
fallacies,
like
or
I'm,
just knowing like what it does to you, or
yeah, now I feel like I'm getting even farther away from where I was trying to go. So, so if you had
colder,
something,
colder.
yeah, yeah, it's so weird to like be saying that to myself. Oh, you're getting colder. Like, how do you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's my favorite.
It's so weird. Like, yeah, it's like I don't. It's like I don't remember what the goal is. I just know I'm getting colder. Fuck, because it was going to be a really good point too. Damn it.
What I'm learning is Christianity kind of sucks for mental health. And for the things to work on you, the tactics and stuff, you have to assume a position that is bad for you mentally, mentally and emotionally. Like you have to like assume the premise or accept the premise when somebody comes to you and
Yeah.
you have to think you're broken. You have to accept that you're broken.
Right. So
And need to be
speaking of
fixed.
broken, I do remember now where I was going to go, but just,
okay, good.
It has to do with the word hell, but I'll let you finish. So remind me of hell, and then we'll get to it. So thinking you're broken.
Yeah, and I know.
Fixed. Yeah.
I don't know from talking to people, but I know from where I was hearing just the term religious trauma. I would scoff at it. I'd be like, "What are you even talking about? What even is that? What are you talking about?
What the hell is even that?" Yeah.
Yeah, and I know people would scoff at it, but the counselor I talked to like called it out, and so that sounds like religious trauma. And by the way, talking to a counselor who's a social worker, they still need a master's to be a social worker, which is dumb because social workers get paid shit pretty much across the board.
Yeah, I've known some.
Yeah, based on needing a master's to do it. It's like, great, I might pay that loan off when I'm 60. Neat.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But they can say their training allows them to say things more directly than a psychologist or a therapist from a psychology background. So I've learned that I prefer social workers as a counselor because they're just like, hey, that sounds like, instead of trying to get you to realize it, like they're just like, hey, that sounds like religious trauma.
Yeah.
No, but like it's there's a lot of parts of Christianity like where you need to subvert yourself in order to become a better believer or a better Christian. And
yeah,
that sounds good when you're a Christian from that stripe, you know?
Yeah. When you believe that you're like sinful and corrupt and broken and all the,
but then when you find out
and all
that
that,
like all the research shows that's how you get worse. And like you can claim, like somebody can claim that the research is wrong and it's satanic and whatever, but once you really look into it, you realize no, it's not. They just wanted to know what was real and what was true, and it turns out this way of doing things is bad across the board. It's just kind of it's just a question of is it bad right away or bad later?
Yeah.
And when it's bad later, I think that's worse because it builds up.
Yeah. Yeah, but see, but Matt, that's just leaning on your own understanding, which like the
Lean
Bible
not
says
on your own
specifically
understanding.
not to
I'm
do.
not. I'm leaning on research.
No, but that's them. But that's them leaning on their understanding. See, you're trusting the word of man over the word of God.
Shouldn't goodness be measurable at all? Like, shouldn't like okay, if goodness has good impacts, like we should be able to measure that to some degree, any degree. Like, you know. Like,
yeah. See, but this is the what Christianity thinks is a strength of it, but it's really not. This is how they just make everything so unfalsifiable. It's like no matter what, it's like, well, that's what God wanted, or that's how it's supposed to be, or well, if it looks like it's wrong, that's just your corrupt mind thinking that it's wrong, because it can't be wrong, basically. So
it's a religion built on death, but claims
yeah,
to be obsessed with life.
right. Yeah. Oh, and also any of these things that seem to be wrong with it. Oh, since it's since it's a faith thing, not a science thing, you can't test it anyway. So you just got to believe it, and yeah, that
But
takes care of it.
faith doesn't make it true. And that pissed off some guys I was talking to once. One in particular. The one
Hmm.
out of the two that I thought would have surprised me, he got mad.
Hmm.
But when somebody says, well, you have all these arguments or whatever. Not even arguments, just like, well, I wasn't even like debating. I was just like, oh yeah, but that's not a thing. And I was like, here's one sentence why. And then
Beautiful, beautiful.
and it wasn't like I was debating, it was more like, oh, it does nothing for me. What else you got? Like and they're like, well, you just need to have faith. And I was like, I just want to believe what's true. Having faith doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it real. It just makes it like true to the person who believes it, which isn't the same as it being real or true. And
Mm-hmm.
and it makes them so mad. And I kind of like it when they have no rebuttal to like, well, I just want to believe what's true. What you got? And they're like, well, this is what I believe is true, and here's my reasons why it's true. Change my life. Blah 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 blah. And
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, cool, neat. But why is it true for everyone? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
where's
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
the thing we can measure? And
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is like what I was searching for when I was kind of on my way out, just looking for anything to hold on to, just like. But again, like that was what I was told by so many people. It's like, well, this is just so like someone would say this thing that I even would maybe used to believe about God and like just how like wonderful and beautiful like God is and Jesus and all that. But then okay, with all the different like views of God that there are out there, all the different views of Jesus and the Bible and the faith and everything, you're choosing this one. How do you know that one is actually the correct one? And the answer I just kept getting is like, well, we don't know. This is just in so many words, like, well, this is just what I choose to believe, or like, this is just what sounds better. I'm like, okay, but
yeah,
how do you know? And like, well, you just got to have faith. It's like, okay, well, I don't.
I think it boils down to
What now?
believing it because you agree with its sentiments.
Mm-hmm.
Like and that's if somebody acknowledges that, then I got I they haven't convinced me, but I have no problem leaving them with it. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
I
and it reminds me, sorry, keep going.
because really, it's all we're all doing is you can call it the Holy Spirit, you can call it intuition, you can call it your gut feeling. Just that's all we're doing. That's all we should do is like whatever your core values are, whatever is good to you, do that, and then goodness, as humanity sees it to be, will become the dominant thing. Um,
Mm.
and might need to like redress that later when I don't know, consuming resources and just shitting out things that are bad for the planet seemed like a good idea at the time. Um, and I, I do kind of wonder if something messed with human DNA because we did get the ability to produce technological advances before we understood the impact. Um,
Right.
and it's just weird that something that progressed naturally would overshoot like that. Um,
Mm.
that's just me wondering.
Yeah. Which
Also,
I mean,
I heard somebody who knows things and was Lou Elizondo seemed to be trying to communicate information by speaking in hypotheticals, and it looks like around 100,000 years ago, something interesting happened in human development that would indicate something. And if we look into DNA, there is some kind of message or signature there that would indicate that somebody manipulated it. That's not panspermia. That's it's plausible. Also, he really seemed to dwell on that in several interviews where he's like, maybe in DNA there would be something you can find that says. He was like, and almost nodding his head while he was saying it, like, please hear what I'm telling you. I'm trying to give you information that would put me in jail if I said it outright. In jail / killed in prison.
Yeah. Suicided. Yeah.
My whole family may have a car accident kind of thing. But that has happened.
Or I will shoot myself in the back of the head 3 times.
I will thoroughly end my life.
Yeah.
Coroner ruled it a suicide. But however, he was shot from a distance of at least 20 feet. So
that was one of my favorite things, and I'm glad the Daily Show went there when they were covering the DNC. Like when I forget if it was Bill or Hillary, doesn't really matter, but they were talking about like their speech, and they said like whoever it was totally killed it, but the police have ruled it a suicide.
I think that was Bill who talked.
Yeah,
because Hillary's kind of kryptonite
anymore. Yeah,
which she doesn't understand why she lost when she ran. She still blames other people.
But honestly, like some of the reasons that people really hate Trump with the whole like the womanizing, like that aspect, but they still love Bill. I'm like, where are your standards, people?
Well, see, so you watch Bill talk and you're like, it's harder to believe he did it. But then you watch Trump talk and you're like, I'm surprised we only know about these 3 or whatever it is.
No, but that's the thing. Bill is such a smooth talker. I mean, that's how he does it. But anyway,
no, he's sinister as well.
Yeah.
His hair has always been weird to me. What the fuck is up with that? It's like a pelt of something he just stapled to his head.
Yeah. But anyway, all right. So I want to get to the like watching videos, but before we do that, I want to get to some of the other things I at least mentioned in the description, so I'm not making myself a liar. So here's the thing that like I was trying to think of earlier, but then forgot, but then reminded myself. So hell. So when it comes to evangelism, one of the things that frustrates me the most is, and I know I've talked about this before, but it just fits with this topic so well. When it comes to the idea of hell and how Christians think they're providing some sort of like assurance of like whatever good news it is, it's usually, hey, here's how to not go to hell and go to heaven. So I have on several occasions, like just put the question out there to Christians like, okay, I used to be a believer. I'm not now. Am I going to hell?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like, should be simple question. And it should be easy for them to answer. But what I found, and because I also remember this,
they don't know is the real answer.
Like, yeah, they think, well, and they think the nice sounding answer is like, well, that's not for me to say. It's not for me to judge. You know, that's between you and God. Like, I can't say for sure. It's like, first of all, it's like, okay, I'm not asking you to judge me. I'm asking you to tell me, okay, what is it that a person has to do to go to heaven and not hell? And pretty much universally, whatever they would tell me, okay, I'd say, okay, I'm not doing that, or I don't believe that, or I don't say this, I don't, whatever. Not that is what I am doing. Now, am I going to hell? It's like, well, I can't say. Like, first of all, you just fucking told me. But even the ones who like wouldn't say that, like for the ones who are legit, like that's between you and God. I can't say. It's like, okay, how disturbing is it that you can't tell a person what will keep them out of hell? And you cannot give them any assurance whatsoever whether they're actually going there or not.
Well, ask them, are they going to heaven? And then like they're like, well, yeah, because I'm a believer in blah blah. And you're like, well, how do you know that? I mean, Jesus didn't say what you had to do to go to heaven, did he?
Well, if he did, it was usually like something like sell all your stuff, or
Right.
take care of the poor, or
well, he told the
stuff like that. But
maybe you could look at the guy next to Jesus, like in the story. One of the other guys on the cross. Why as a side comment, why is it okay? Why does the algorithm flag you if you're talking about the guy who was executed with nails on a tree? Like why doesn't that get flagged as like, oh, nobody can hear about that? Like,
right? Yeah, literally like one of the like worst forms of like torturous execution that humans have ever come up with, and they're like, yeah, that's just fine. You can talk about that.
But you say the word genocide, and the algorithm's like, oh no, some people being killed is fine. But you talk about like a lot of people being killed, nobody can hear about that. It's too terrible. It's like, which is why they should hear about it, you fuckers.
Right.
No, but really, the whole reason it gets flagged is because the U.S. government is in cahoots with a lot of tech companies, and it's weird how TikTok, with its influence on America's youth and all of the everybody, that was a threat to national security. But like American companies doing the exact same thing is not a threat to national security. Why? Because national security is behind what they do and don't do.
It's beautiful, really. Yeah.
That's how they know what we're gonna do before we do it. Is that they can read the tea leaves in social media, little nuggets and stats and stuff.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. But anyway, so back to the whole.
Wait, what was I saying? I was saying something about. Oh yeah, the guy on the cross. The guy just kind of recognized Jesus as the Son of God or something, and I don't remember.
Yeah, he like literally. I think all he says is like, "Jesus, like remember me today."
Yeah, and he said,
Jesus says
like,
"Oh,
truth,
today
you will be with me in paradise."
Yeah,
it's like, okay, so that's the clearest example we have of what gets somebody into heaven, probably, where Jesus is like, "Hey, that's the thing."
Now, as opposed to another gospel where both of the thieves on the cross were mocking him, and neither of them believed in him, but there's no contradictions in the gospels or any of the Bible.
So maybe he mocked him and then thought better of it and said the thing, but the other guy didn't include it in his gospel because he was turned away when that happened.
Yeah, he was too
even
busy
though neither of the writers were there when it happened.
Right.
It's not clear in the gospel what gets you to heaven. Any of the gospels, and
no, or even what heaven is.
Right. There's a house with many rooms. Is heaven a house? Like, what is the New Jerusalem, which is apparently cubic? like when it comes down, it's like a golden Borg ship.
You will be assimilated.
Resistance is futile as it comes down. All the angels say.
Oh, and that's like, that actually it's so perfect with how well like apologetics and like Christians like they like assimilate to like whatever kind of like attacks are thrown at them. There's like, oh, it's supposed to be that way. Just like
it's mine now. I take it.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it'd be nice. Like honestly, like maybe slightly hearkening back to Penn Jillette's sentiment of how much he appreciates proselytizing because it means they actually care about him. It's like, really, I just want And some have, but it's usually only like the super fundamentalists who like don't give a shit about hurting feelings or anything or how it comes across. Or like, yeah, you're going to hell. I'm like, okay, but so I wish like more Christians like would just tell me flat out.
The fuck out of me, and they're like, God is love, and then they're like, you have feelings, fuck you. Like, what the hell, man?
Well, but at the same time, but I appreciate that, because if it is true that because of what I believe I'm going to hell, I want them to tell me. This is why like I get so frustrated with the more like friendly and like progressive Christians who I don't want to say. It's like, okay, well, you better fucking want to tell me if I'm going to hell or not, if you actually have this information. And if you don't have this information, that should disturb the fuck out of you, that you cannot tell someone for sure whether they're going to be tortured for eternity or not.
But you just have to have faith that you won't. It's like, okay, neat, that works for now. What about if I'm in hell like forever? You know, being tormented. What if that's the lie? What if hell is not torment? What if it's just where all the cool people go?
No, I mean, the music like, will be better there.
Yeah. Like, why would Satan be tormenting people in hell? Like, everybody who's there has been down the same road he's been down. So, like, why would he want to punish anybody? I don't get it.
Yeah, which I don't even know if that's necessarily.
Like, wouldn't he want to rebel even more by saying, like, "Fuck you, God, I'm not on your payroll anymore"? Like, yeah, I'm not gonna torment these people because of your justice. What the fuck?
Right.
Like,
yeah, but here's the thing: like, is it anywhere in the Bible where it says that Satan is torturing people in hell, or is that just like an idea we've come up with later? Like, pretty much all of it.
No, that it makes for the better stories, but there's
yeah.
Anyway. It's a way to explain away God's involvement in it, really.
Yeah. So all I'd say. So part of me like wishes that like the Christians who do the whole like, well, I can't say, just understand how disturbing that is. But then also going back to like, you know, Penn Jillette's whole thing is like, well, if you're not proselytizing to me, like, how much do you really care about me? But I think it's really on the other side of that doesn't make me question whether these Christians actually care about these unsaved people. What that maybe partially does, but what that really makes me question is how much do they actually believe it? Like, because even like looking back, because I know for me that was a thing. Like so many things in Christianity, it's so much work and effort to continue to believe it, and that's because deep down, like at our base level, we probably don't actually believe it, which is why we need the constant effort and reassurance from others, and like we need to be constantly immersed with. This is like one of the things I love to point out.
Session
this is one thing I love to point out. Even like according to Christianity, like God is so much harder to like really get a grasp on, because it requires like constant like scripture reading and fellowship and going to church and hearing the teachings and the praying and the fasting. Like it's like constant effort. But apparently all you need to do for Satan to get a hold of your life is like touch a Ouija board or listen to Slayer a couple times, and that's it. It's like like Satan is
super powerful.
Yeah, he is, and so much more convenient as well. But all right, so before if there was anything else on that end, like there was something else I want to touch on, only because I put it in the description and I don't want to make myself a liar. And that's this whole idea of like being like atheist evangelists. It is like, is that what we're doing? Is that actually a bad thing?
I've thought about that. Yeah, let's talk about that.
All right. Do you have enough to say real quick while I go and like run and grab my other monitor and everything, get that set up before we...
Probably.
All right, go. I'll be right back.
All right, so here's what I'm thinking. These camera lenses are crazy. My forearm looks huge, even though it's just like 5 inches closer to the camera than my face. I'm Popeye. All right, so I think that there is kind of a personality type that is prone to being more evangelical, with whatever good things they think they have for the world. I think there are some people who do become as aggressively evangelical as they were when they were a believer, but with atheism or naturalism or whatever. Um, and that may not be great, but there does tend to be a difference where if you're like a Christian evangelical versus like an atheist evangelical, if they're even similar, um, the Christians, from my own perspective, Christians seem to have more skin in the game because if their good news does not win people over, then it's not good news. And so, like you have to see it impact people in a good way, or it threatens your faith. Whereas atheists, I think, want people to be free to make their own decisions and not and not be and not submit themselves to somebody else's teaching about their life. Um, but there isn't the same kind of need. Like atheists don't need somebody else to be an atheist for them to be okay being an atheist. That was kind of like that's basically all of what they learned leaving the faith, whatever faith they were in. Is that like they're okay without that. um, so there's a kind of neediness, I think, that Christian evangelicals have versus somebody who's evangelical about atheism. And I have found for the most part, people who are evangelical about atheism are okay with the person walking away still being a believer, but Christian evangelicals are not. They have failed, or their faith wasn't big enough to conquer the other person's lack of faith or something. But I do think it's something to monitor because it is easy to fall back into. It is easy to fall back into old habits and patterns of talking to people about what you believe or don't believe. So that's something to watch. But no, I similar enough to make a comparison, but not similar enough to call them the same, I think.
Yeah, and I think in a way it's similar to that like accusation that like Christians like Frank Turek will throw, like, well, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. It's almost like by them
That's
using it as an
statement.
insult, it's almost like an unintentional, like tacit admission that it's a bad thing. So it's like they realize like from our side we're attacking them for a thing, but they're just trying to do the whole, oh yeah, but what about you? You do it too. So it's like they're kind of admitting that it's a bad thing. Like, but like with evangelism, it's like I don't think, and maybe some other atheists or non-believers can correct me, it's not so much that, because really, like, that's just kind of what people do, is like when something is really important to them, they talk about it.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't think it's so much
if they didn't.
Right. Like what Penn said. It's not so much that they're just talking about it. The problem is just with the thing itself, not the attitude of, well, I got to talk about it. It's like if you're like trying to tell me about like how to eat healthy or like what kind of exercise or about a really cool show on Netflix, and that I would actually like, then please tell me. But it's like, the reason I don't want you to keep talking about it because the stuff you're talking about, it's bullshit, it's harmful, it's either not demonstrably as true as you think it is, or in some cases it's very demonstrably false. Then you can see, speaking of religious trauma, like we literally have the numbers to show how harmful this shit is. So
what's wrong with believing something that's more true? I don't understand that.
Well, because it can't be true. That's the thing.
Like Christianity,
you just think it's more true.
Just the Gospels are clearly an ideology in transition. It's kind of like it's weird. It's like a secularization. There's some secularization of Judaism that's going on when they're kind of like trying to do like a meld of Judaism and like Roman paganism and kind of Roman culture or philosophy, Greek philosophy in general. So you kind of get like a slight secularization of Judaism. You also get kind of a Jewishization of some like Roman legends and philosophies, which were really all their philosophy was basically Greek philosophy.
Yeah, very Hellenized. Yeah.
So it's a hodgepodge. It's kind of like going, all right, everything we had up till now, not good enough. Let's do something new. Let's find the new thing. Jesus was saying new things according to these stories, and they're kind of like, let's explore that. And then everybody was like, right, that's exactly what it is, and we will do only that. And they're like, oh, for fuck's sake. In one out of the four gospels, the writers has Jesus saying, like, no one comes to the Father except through me, but it could also be translated, everybody who comes to the Father comes through me. It's unclear. Also, it seems super critical that like the other three should have definitely fucking had it in their gospels. Like it's kind of the whole way you get to heaven or something, like.
Yeah. Which I think it's that whole,
It's
like,
not
again,
just an oversight to leave it out.
yeah, it's one of the things, like, I don't think people who try to say this thing about the Bible, about it actually is univocal. So, like, even though this one book in the Old Testament, they made it sound like it was talking about this thing. Well, but Paul said it was actually talking about this. So, I mean, and we talked about it before, but just take, for example, like the snake or the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Like, later, like, writers in the New Testament, even though I don't think any of them actually explicitly said it, but I think it was just something, whether it's in Revelation, that talked about like that ancient serpent or like the snake of old or whatever. Like,
so it was definitely in kind of like the ethos or whatever at the time.
Yeah, but it's not but it's like, even like in that, it wasn't necessarily like clear that he was talking about the serpent in the Genesis story. But like, let's just say that
he was probably talking about the Leviathan.
Yeah, but let's just
like
say for the sake of argument, he was talking about the serpent in the Garden of Eden.
Let's do that.
Okay, so if he didn't say that until like sometime in like the first or maybe second century, then like how many millennia were like people going around not thinking that the serpent was Satan? Because no one before that said it. So it's like we don't think of all the people who are actually living like in real time, like as these books were written. Like, so for a Christian, it's like, well, because it's like the last book that was written says something about like one of the first books, then like, of course we know. Okay, but for all these people who are actually living it for those thousands of years before that, like later authors said that thing about the books that they had been reading their entire lives, not seeing this thing that they saw. It's like, but yeah, like you're saying, like it's like people need to remember, like, this is something I wish a lot more Christians would do. Like, since we know Mark was the first gospel, like, I wish more Christians could just go through this exercise of, okay, clear your mind, forget everything you know about the gospel, Christianity, Jesus, just read Mark and pretend you're one of the first Christians who only had Mark. Mm-hmm. What is the gospel now? Who is Jesus now?
I did that as a non-believer. Yeah. I haven't finished going through it. I would like to. But there's a lot of baggage going through it. So
yeah.
But no, that's when I realized how well Mark is written and how many
it really is. Yeah.
Like traditions it combines in the same story, and the like the sower of the seeds in that parable. In Mark, Jesus says, if you don't understand this, you can't understand anything else I teach. And I've never heard that preached. I've never heard like you got to get this parable or nothing else matters. It was always kind of like, oh, you gotta believe the earth is only 4,000 years old and it was made in 6 days, 7 if you count when God rested, and that. So no, I found a lot more,
because God gets tired. Yeah, but we don't believe.
I found
God
a lot more
tired.
going through it, like just through the lens of what if this is all I have, and I have those traditions to pull from. Yeah, it's great literature, and it doesn't get the respect it deserves for that. Also, Robin Faith Walsh,
Quality.
easy to listen to, easy to watch. Highly recommend kind of everything she does.
Yeah.
Also, seems absolutely neurodivergent. Just because she has her special interests. But she was talking about
I was
how,
about to think, well, she doesn't really, but maybe it's, well, if she seems normal to me, then maybe that.
right, yeah, anybody I'm really like, oh, these, well, I don't know, her people are my people. Whenever that I get that feeling, that's when I know.
Yeah.
What's his name? I forget his name. The baldy Mick atheist used to be a Christian.
The what atheist?
Baldy, he's bald. Bart Ehrman.
Ah,
Um, he had a big hootenanny where
yeah.
he had a bunch of speakers come and he's like, I challenge you to just show up with something from a perspective you haven't looked at something before. I try to come up with something new. And so she came to the table with, all right, so Paul's writings chronologically are the first writings about Jesus we have before Mark. Um, so, like, couldn't you make the argument that maybe all of the Gospels were expanding on Paul's theology? Were they giving story to Paul's stuff? Or were they inspired by Paul? And so these were people who were taking Paul's teaching, combining it with kind of like oral legends, verbal legends that have been passed down, or all these different writings. There are like hundreds of different gospels. And so could the gospels be saying more about Paul's teaching than Jesus? And there were, she kind of touched on it a little bit, didn't give all the details because, they're trying to get people to go to the conference and all that, because that's how they make their living. But there were enough things where like it really looked like they were aware of Paul's writings, not building off of them directly, but kind of a combination. But that's a big deal. That Paul is influencing these gospels potentially, chronologically, totally possible.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Also, I think it's really cool though that like all these different hundreds of gospels, it doesn't bother me now, because it was all these people going, okay, well, here's what Jesus means to me, and writing that story, and then everybody could look at all these different stories and go, well, that resonates with me, that doesn't, and like it already, just several years after to decades after, like it's clear people were using Jesus kind of to represent the Atman. I think that's a Hindu thing.
Oh, yeah.
The ideal person, and striving to be the ideal person as we all see it. That's what we should be doing. So yeah, write a bunch of different stories about that. Like, let's figure that out, work it out.
Yeah, but feel an obligation to none of them. Just like,
yeah. I feel like the obligation came when it got institutionalized.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess, okay, so before we move on to the reaction segment of the program this evening, I guess some of my thoughts on the whole like atheist evangelism thing is like, so first of all, I think that's just it's just like an attempted like defense or deflection like from Christians. Like, it's like they don't like what you're doing with basically being an atheist and talking about it. so it's like they have to come up with some sort of like principle, basically just make up a principle and say you're violating it and therefore you're wrong.
Yeah.
Because really, like I said, all it is, and you would expect this from anyone. It's like, because I do the same thing, like whether it was like when I changed my mind on politics or I discover a new band that I really like I talk about it. But when it's something as like impactful and like literally life-changing as going from like being a lifelong Christian to an atheist, and like you have like, and there are reasons for it, and it's something where like, oh, this could actually help someone, and where, like I've said, whether it's public or in private, like, and I am getting feedback from people saying that it is helping, like, I'm gonna keep doing it just because, like I said, this is something like everyone does all the time. Like they just share whatever their thoughts are, the things they think about, like their views on things. But it's only when like, well, I don't like those views or those certain things you're talking about, so I'm going to try to come up with a reason why that in particular is wrong. And then so like, oh, and so then they come up with these certain, well, they don't like us for being evangelists, so we'll just turn it around on them and saying they're being evangelists. It's like, which again, like my problem with Christians.
Then
like,
aren't you saying being evangelistic is bad when you do that?
Yes, but they'll say they are, so that fixes it. But again, like it's also totally like misreading, like intentionally or not, what our actual problem with Christian evangelism is. Like I said, if I don't mind people being evangelists, if you want to use that term or not, for things that I think are actually helpful and beneficial. My problem is they're doing it with something that I genuinely believe is harmful. Like that's why. Now, and again, like I also probably, even though I view it as harmful, I really wouldn't mind it as much as if it was just them like, well, here's just what I think. And they're basically just saying, like, just expressing their views. The problem is when it crosses that line to, I'm going to try to make you agree with me too, and tell you if you don't, you're going to burn in hell forever.
And I'm going to leverage what you say about your experience. That clip that I sent, it's not a clip, it's a whole video. That guy, I think in Guyana, he's in there and he's a white guy in Guyana, like evangelizing, doing like street debates and stuff with people. In his defense, he is actually doing an apologetics debate. But oh my God, when you when you hear him talking, and he's like his pontificating voice, you're like, dude, you're patronizing people. Like this is anyway.
Yeah.
Just he's not interested in having a discussion with somebody. He's it's half an hour long, so we won't watch it here.
Yeah. Now I have, like, speaking of which, like, so anything else you wanted to like touch on with that before we move into the video segment?
Not really.
Okay, so I just searched for like Ray Comfort witnessing on YouTube, and apparently that's an entire channel. It's like Ray Comfort just witnessing, and it appears to be official. So now there's some shorts here. Like there's one, like the title kind of caught my attention. Fear of death is your friend, not your enemy.
Okay, I'm gonna microphone to my Bluetooth headphones. You can keep talking. I can talk to you.
Okay.
I'm gonna see if I can find my vape thing.
Okay. Now, so how do you want to like look at maybe like a 6 to 8 minute video, or look at a couple shorts? What are you thinking?
You can hear me still, right?
Yes.
Okay. Shorts are probably best to get rolling.
Okay, so does this one called "Fear of Death is your friend, not your enemy"? That sound?
Sounds like something.
All right, let's get this started. All right, back to the beginning with that.
I'm outside and I'm doing a podcast.
Whoa. That's fabulistic or something.
My connection's a little wonky. No worries, heading back.
All right, now you can't quite see this because I have the logo up.
I can't see it at all because I'm not near a screen.
Well, no, I'm talking to the people, Matt, not you. You don't count.
Oh, the people.
So where's the... Man, yeah, Restream has changed a bunch of stuff around. I don't have my logo here anymore. Anyway, so you can't see because of the overlay here. I'll just remove that for a second. I just love that the subtitle that it has just for the start, knowing that, okay, this is Ray Comfort talking to a person, and it just says at the bottom, "Do you want me?"
Do you really want me?
See?
Isn't that a song?
I'm sure it is, but...
I'll switch back to the microphone.
So I just love, like, okay, knowing this is a Ray Comfort video, and it just says, "Do you want me?" And there's that look on dude's face.
Painful joy.
Yeah, so, all right, so let's see where this goes. Again, this is called... No, not you.
Do you think you're a good person?
Yes, I am a good person.
Okay.
No, we'll get to you later.
I'm a good person. Fuck
You
you.
want to start again? No. Because I really care about it. If you were going to jump out of a plane 10,000 feet, why would you put on a parachute?
So I don't die,
So you
yeah.
don't die, and your motivation is fear. And that fear is your friend. It's not your enemy because it's making you put on a parachute. And guys, because I care about you, I've tried to put the fear of God in you today, hoping you'll see that fear is your friend, not your enemy.
They're already sorry they're talking to him. Look at that expression.
Right. Okay, but think about that. And this goes...
That's also the face of somebody who's all right, he's with it, but the other guys, I'm not sure they're sober. his face, he's like, oh shit, here's what's coming. Like,
yeah. Speaking of which, all right. So, I guess for the conclusion of my comparison here, I honestly, going into this, thought I was going to prefer the Mad Tree because I'd like, okay, the stone one, yeah, it's great, but it's just kind of, your basic. But I thought maybe the Mad Tree, like, oh, this is more like a fresh take on it. Like, having them side by side, I think I actually preferred the stone. But with only this much left of either, I'm tired of like switching between glasses, so I'm just going to combine them, and we'll see how that goes.
there you go.
But anyway,
a new creation.
yes, Slanjava.
Slant, yeah.
That's tasty.
Wait, was that Scottish? Was that the Scottish one?
Yeah, Slanjava. Yeah, so it basically means like good health. But what I love is, so the second word, this is what I love about Gaelic. And it's probably what Gaelic loves about English. If any of them still spoke it. So the second word, va. Guess how va is spelled?
I don't know, with a G.
Close. An M. It's MHATH. Va. Because clearly.
Va. But it probably starts with the closed mouth. That's probably what the M is for. It's probably like va. There's a little bit of at the front of it, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. I mean, I definitely do go with it. But anyway, okay. So, but back to this whole like fear of death. And that's why you need to turn to God. I know I've talked about this like several times, but well, yeah, I know we talked about it last week when we were talking about like natural disasters and how people like thank God for saving him from them, even though it's his fault ultimately that these things happened in the first place. Because who created the entire universe from scratch, including all of its rules and how all of it operates and how all of the consequences and that whole system works out? Where even if you do think we have free will, he's the one who designed that, okay, this choice will lead to this and this choice will lead to that.
This is how it was supposed to be. The fact, like
Yeah.
the whole idea of the fall doesn't make sense. That makes God the victim. Like we broke his world. Like
Mm-hmm.
God's going,
Yeah,
woe is me, join me in heaven. Like,
yeah, that's why I say, like, when people try to tell me I'm broken, like, okay, well, who made me so fragile? Like, because if we're
who
supposed to
made
be
me
afraid
breakable?
right?
You know?
Because, like, if I'm supposed to be afraid of the consequences of my sin, who is it that made it so that these things would be the consequences for my sin? Who made it so that I need to be afraid of death? Like this guy that you're telling me to run to for life now. So, yeah.
Well, God created all, not just. Did God create all things or just all good things? Because sin's not a good thing.
Well,
So God
Isaiah
didn't
says,
create it.
well, according to Isaiah, it's like God literally says, I create evil.
But that's the Old Testament, which is wrong unless we say it's not.
So convenient how that works. I'm sure the Jewish people love that about Christianity.
No, they totally hate it. They think we're a bunch of our people, formerly our people. They think that they thought we were a bunch of Mormons. That's how they saw it.
Yeah, basically, like how we see Mormons. Yeah, that's how they see us.
It's like
all right,
drunken Judaism.
all right. So let's hear more about how Ray wants us to love this God that we're supposed to be afraid of.
Neat.
Because it'll make you serious with the God that gave you life. Because we tend to be flippant about life.
Wait,
But
I
it's
gotta
so
say,
precious, and that's
when
what's
they
serious
pan
with the
over to
God.
that guy, the one who's closest on camera, and he's just like, the fuck? Like that's just his face.
Let's see that
Gave
again.
you
I was reading
life.
the words.
Because we tend to be flippant about life.
Hold on,
But it's
let's go
so
back. Sorry,
precious,
I
and
didn't go
that
back.
fear is your friend, not your enemy, because it'll make you serious with the God that gave you life. Because we tend to be flippant about
He's
life.
like,
But it's so
what?
precious, and that's what we're talking about today. God is offering you everlasting life as a free gift,
That
and you're
guy's already
flippant
not paying
about it,
attention.
and that's because you don't value your soul as you should. Do you want me to start again?
Yeah,
This is totally spring break somewhere, isn't it?
yeah. Mm-hmm. It was like, but yeah, it's that same. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say to this other than like, yeah, you're telling me to turn to the person to save me from the system that he set up.
But he hasn't talked about him creating it. You know, we're just gonna start with the assumption that it exists, and God is trying to save us from it. Which, by the way, is exactly the same thing that colonists do. But like, it's like, well, the Indians are attacking us. Like, well, we gotta fight back. And it's like, why are they attacking you? Let's go back further in history. They were here,
Right.
then you came, and they're like, okay, maybe that's cool. And then you start fighting him because you're like, no, it's ours because you have brown skin, so of course it's ours. And and then they fight back, and they're like, no, it's ours. This is wrong that you're trying to take it back. And that's exactly the same thing that's happening in Israel with the Palestinians. Is, by the way, Israel doesn't have official borders. They have no self-recognized borders, which is intentional, because the whole point of Israel becoming a state was to expand, and basically take big portions based on the biblical idea of where Israel ends, which has been established by archaeology not to be a thing.
Yeah.
Like, Israel was a backwater hick town. And they had like a king, in quotes, basically. And every time other like kings talked about Israel's king, they're like, "Oh, your king," in aggressive, sarcastic quotes. But that's the whole thing. They're like, October 7th, like they attacked us, and like, what we're gonna do? Not attack back? It's like, let's go back further.
Yeah.
Lots of your people
once again,
are living in their people's houses.
Yeah. Once again, keep talking. I'll be right back.
Are you breaking the seal for like the third time?
No, this is the first time. I haven't. No, the other time was for me to get the monitor to get it set up.
Oh, okay. That's I'm sorry. I'm just razzing you.
Yeah. All right. Now I'm breaking the seal. Thank you. But yeah, be right back.
Okay. Yeah, you use that toilet I installed for you. No, so all right, so the risk of getting canceled. So October 7th was horrendous, super bad. Lots of bad things happened. Also, the Israeli military killed hundreds of their own people because there were Palestinians in their houses. That's a real thing. It's called the Hannibal Doctrine. They absolutely do it. They don't officially do it. Look at their actions. They totally do it. And that kind of revisionist history where, not revisionist even, it's selective history where you start at a certain point and you say, well, okay, like we were just minding our own business and then they attacked us and so we attacked back with a genocide. Okay, and not really an equal response at all. In a similar way, what Ray's doing here with this person is kind of a colonial tactic where he's taking things back to a point that's advantageous for him to use in the conversation. Which is the same as lying, in my opinion, where you omit information that should be included or that you know exists and would be damaging to your goal, so you don't share it or don't use it. That's a lie of omission.
Well,
I am curious to see what any of these guys do, because I don't. They seem to be varying degrees of sober.
Speaking of which, I not only emptied, I'm about to refill. I figure in honor of Ray being the banana man. Bananas are kind of tropical, so I got the tropical.
That's a good beer.
Psychopathy.
Also, I want to draw people's attention, your attention, to this label. Right, that's Aslan. Ooh. Am I wrong? He's got a halo around his head.
Ooh.
So that's a symbol of Christ. Or God, I don't know. It depends on the story. And this beer,
do not cite the deep magic
of repugnance. And Christian history is a lot like that.
Yes, and do not cite the deep magic to him, which he was there.
I still haven't read those books.
Yeah,
are they worth it? Like, if you're not a believer.
I haven't read them either. So if anyone wants to let us know. So anyway, I got some more Ray shorts. Not those.
Let's get back into Ray's shorts.
Yay. All right, but I'm going let's get a little smaller. There we go.
Wait, so was there a conclusion? Was that just those dudes looking confused /
Yeah, that was it.
Bored?
It's like Ray's just like, you guys need to be afraid of dying, so I love you, so I'm going to tell you that. So
turn to Jesus. Away after that, except for that one really confused guy in the foreground. He probably hangs out going,
yeah,
but no, man.
All right, so this one is going by the title here, like, do you think you're innocent or guilty? This is a well that Ray likes to try to make people drink from all the time, but let's just see.
It's a dry hole.
You think you're a good person?
Yes, I am a good person.
Okay, I'm going to put that to the test. Can you be honest with me?
Go ahead.
How many lies have you told in your life?
Too many.
Ever stolen something?
Yeah.
Ever used God's name in vain?
I'll say, yeah.
It's using God's name as a cuss word, and the Bible says his name is holy.
People say it, though. Yeah. But that doesn't give me the right to do it, just because others are doing it.
Yeah, appreciate your honesty. Now, Jesus said, if you look at a woman and lust for her, you commit adultery with her in your heart. Have you ever looked at a woman with lust?
Yes, I have.
Have you had sex before marriage?
See, I just wish someday that Ray would like interview me, because like he always gets to that question, like, have you ever looked at a woman with lust? And I'm like, because the way I want to answer is like, shit, I'm lusting after you right now.
I know. I was just gonna say that would be a funny thing to say. Also, when he starts to go into, have you had sex before marriage? None of your fucking business. Like
also,
you can volunteer that information, but like none of it's fucking business.
Yeah. Also, interesting point on that. I was listening to an interview So Godless Engineer was interviewing Dr. Jennifer Bird. You familiar with her? I think I mentioned her. Like
Jennifer
she's
Bird is a great name, though.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Like her main like point of emphasis, and like she's like, I don't know, I think it's a recent book she wrote on like marriage in the Bible. So some of the things that she talks about a lot is, so first of all, nowhere in the Bible are there words for husband and wife.
Yeah,
it's just so anytime you read in the Bible wife, really what that all that's saying is my woman. And if you read husband, it says my man. So it's this whole like ownership and like, this whole like woman is property thing. But even like in the Old Testament, there's like just zero word for marriage. Now there is apparently in Greek for the New Testament, but still it's like, but just whatever concept we currently have of marriage and like husband and wife, it's like, it's not what it's like I said. So especially in the Old Testament, like I said, there's no word for marriage. Like literally marriage was just a man penetrates a woman and bingo, they're married. So like, they made the point. True, but then that's a whole other thing. But basically, they made the point on the show where you could look at it like
hand wave. Did you just literally hand wave that away? But that's a whole other thing.
Well, it's not hand waving. It's more just like I'm not prepared to talk about that. I'm hand waving away my ability to.
Oh, gotcha.
Discuss that intelligently, I guess you could say. But basically, they were making the point, like, in that light, there really can be no such thing as premarital sex because the sex is the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and the ceremony is just the prelude to the marriage.
Yeah, it's basically like, did you pay her father enough or not? That's really all what it comes down to.
Yeah. Did you pay her father enough to dip your quill in the ink? Like,
but my quill was also giving the ink. Anyway.
No, that's seed. She's just soil. She's your woman who is also your soil that you plant your seed in.
So anyway, so let's
it's all quite so uplifting.
Oh, for sure. It's good news. It's gospel, man. So let's continue to hear what a terrible person this guy is.
And here Ray Comfort leveraged this.
So Edgar, I'm not judging you, but you've just told me you're a.
What's that?
And here Ray Comfort leveraged this guy's Catholic guilt. Whether he was ever a believer, based on his accent, he comes from a culture heavily impacted by Catholicism. And so even if he's an atheist, he's a Catholic atheist. And
culturally.
And there's a lot of cultural guilt that comes from Catholicism. It's a spiritual gift in Catholicism.
Right.
So on a mental health level, it's not cool what he's doing to this guy.
Oh, for sure.
Lying, thieving, blasphemous, fornicating, adulterer at heart, and you have to face God on Judgment Day. If he judges you by the 10 Commandments, on that day will you be innocent or guilty?
All right, so I just want to. So what he says here is like basically he asks, "Have you ever lied? Have you ever lusted?" So basically says, "If you've ever lied, okay, you're a liar."
Yeah, he's tagging identity into an act.
Okay, but here's the thing. Like here's what Ray doesn't ask him: "Have you ever told the truth?" Like, well, yeah. Well, then by that same token, I'm a truth teller.
I've not heard that rebuttal before, but that's great.
I mean, well, that's because he hasn't interviewed me. Like, but it's like
he has definitely interviewed several people like you, but they don't make the recordings.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, and I don't know if I would ever be in a place where Ray would come up. Like, I don't go to beaches. I mean, come on, people who know me and my history and ancestry, really.
Fight the sun.
Yeah.
Icarus.
Yeah. Which is why, so here's something I've been meaning to mention more, like, because I'm part of like to advertise it for how awesome I am, but also to remind myself to do it more often. Like, is I started doing like some, because like I play drums. So I started like posting some videos of me like playing along with songs that I really like, not for the purpose of like, here's me doing a cover and like really nailing it and whatever, but it's more just like, I just really enjoy this song. Here's a video of me enjoying playing along with the song. So the first song I chose was I thought was so appropriate for several reasons, because I actually posted it on the 3-year anniversary of me going into remission from melanoma. Just so many things about the song was like, first of all, it was called Skin to Suffer In, which is like, okay, I had skin cancer, suffering. That's awesome. But then also one of the lines in the song is murderous light. It's like, okay, yeah, that's the sun literally tried to kill me. But it's like, but back to back, it's the lines murderous light, I feel life. It's like so many things about just that just kind of encapsulated my whole experience. But anyway, so
Melanoma tried to colonize your heart.
It did,
just like Christianity.
Ooh, so you heard it here. Matt is saying Christianity is cancer, and I'm not disagreeing.
Yes, well, I think with a particular aim, it behaves like a cancer. There is a tipping point when something like some kind of insurrection or some kind of like cultural insurrecting idea starts to take over, like the whole like progressivism, like whatever idea is progressive now will probably be conservatism in the future at some point. So like you can see that as new life, new creation, a new idea being born. That is how things will be. Or you can see it as a cancer. And colonial endeavors seem to be guided by conservative ideas. And so now you have kind of... So it's like, which one is doing its own thing? Which one is fighting? It's like both sides see the other one as a cancer. Like Christians see atheism or like New Age, whatever, progressive Christianity. That's the cancer, and and then we see Christianity as kind of a malignant tumor that needs to go. Or just if that tumor wants to do its own thing and just be a tumor, fine. Be a benign tumor. Great, nobody cares, right? But it's when they become malignant and they're like, no, we want to that lung looks like it should be cancer. That kind of thing.
I remember
that's when the rest of the body of Christ even maybe says, no, wait, you can do your own thing, or you can expire.
Yeah. Now, first of all, I'm sorry, I just now saw this comment, Susan. Like, what were you glad to be here to hear? Because
could have been anything.
I'm interested to know, but yeah, seriously. But I remember a while ago I posted something. I want to say it was something like, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't completely hate all people just because if they're just gay or something. Like maybe Christians can be accepting about that sort of thing." And one of my fundy friends, one of the beardeds, if you're a little inside.
Oh, the bearded fundies might be the worst.
He's he just commented on it, it's like, this is cancer. So and I was proud of and I was proud of my response. I just said oh yes, the Christianity is cancer thing. Yes. So my response was, okay, whatever this is cancer to needs to die. So I'm proud of that. So
also, that's incredibly judgmental. That's it's dismissive, it's judgmental. Right? It's not just he felt the need. I'm assuming it's a he. He felt the need to let you know he thought it was cancer. It's like, how much does he value his own opinion?
Which also, if I'm remembering the timeline correctly, I think I had cancer at the time, so that was extra fun.
And if it's cancer, don't just call it cancer and walk away and my job's done here. Just fight it.
Yeah, that's literally all he said. His comment was this is cancer. That was literally it.
Call it names and run away. That's
all right. So let's get back to Ray.
By the way,
to tell this.
I thought the name of the channel for a split second when I saw it was Gay Comfort, and everything made so much more sense after that.
I mean, you saw his like banana bit. I mean, it's
right. No, and in the video, I know he pulled it out from behind him on the chair, but it actually looked like he pulled it out of his ass. Like it really looked like it. He was wearing pants. I know he would need a hole in it. It could be in his ass, but hey, it was fun.
Hey, but to borrow the Christian apologetic tactic, you can't prove he didn't have a hole in his pants and didn't pull it out of his ass.
You can't prove it wasn't an ass banana.
Oh, and you could totally tell he wanted Kurt to join in on it, and he was trying to get him into it. But
what if we released a video of it's the exact same clip that he puts out, but
sorry, Kurt, not Kurt. Yeah.
Kurt, yeah. But when he pulls out a banana from behind him, all we add is the sound effect. And we just call it commentary and see if we can get past like this, getting
okay. Well, when we're done with this one, I'm gonna find the video and we're just gonna play it, and you're gonna do that sound when it gets to that part, just because I want to see it, and I'm sure. So now, I'm not a religious person, but I'm interested.
And it's just. Oh, the stories we could tell about the ass banana.
All right, so we'll get to that. We'll honor your Jesus here in a second, there, Susan. But we need to get through Ray telling this guy that even though if he ever told a lie, that makes him a liar. But apparently, the fact that he's ever told the truth doesn't just make him a truthy person, whatever.
Right. It sounds like being bad just wins automatically.
Like I was going to say a truther, but that has a whole other implication. Speaking of words, anyway.
And hijack.
So if this guy who like is clearly like just as bad as any like serial killer because he said "oh my fucking god" at one point, well, and he looked because he ever looked at a lady and was like, "oh, that looks nice."
I bet you do the thing that all the chemicals make you do.
Right. And that referring to a certain body part, I'm not calling the woman a that. Sorry. And I'm also not insinuating that he was. But anyway.
If he judges you by the 10 Commandments, on that day will he be innocent or guilty?
Okay, also, like, where in the Bible does it say that God will judge us by the 10 Commandments?
Half of them don't matter to anything he just said. They're societal. They're not like the first 5 or so govern individual things, but then after that, it's like, I don't know, society will be set up this way, and you're like, nobody knows the 10 Commandments. All the people who are into it and they're like, put it up in the schools and shit, and you ask them, what are the 10 Commandments that are so amazing they should be up in schools? And they're like, freedom of speech.
Then,
and like they don't.
Yeah, but then you ask a biblical scholar and they'll say, oh, which 10 Commandments? But
yeah, there's 2 versions at least.
So I totally read this like with the to the tune of the doxology in my head. So pardon my singing, but praise Father, Son, and Holy Ass Banana.
Yeah, that was a Catholic hymn too.
Hold on. Man. Okay.
Did you guys do that?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a Catholic thing that's very similar.
Oh yeah, it's the doxology. Yeah. Praise God from whom all blessings flow.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not a bad song.
Well, yeah.
I mean the melodies and all that. Not. I don't like the lyrics so much.
Right.
Here and there.
Yeah. Anyway, so if God judges this guy by the 10 Commandments, which he literally never ever said he would do, let's hear what Ray says.
Guilty.
He's probably just gonna look at my heart. Like you can say all this, but I do a lot of good.
On Judgment Day, you're going to be guilty.
He gets
See, now if God were reasonable, like this guy apparently is,
yeah.
then
What this guy is saying, like, I can do all that, but it depends how I'm using it or how I'm doing it, or you know what I mean? Like, I might. All right, because you can lust after somebody and it not be sinful if this is your thinking, right? Because if God created people and he created people with like a certain makeup to do certain things and respond to things a certain way, then responding in the way you were created, not a bad thing. Now, if you're like, I like what I'm seeing, I should totally tackle that without permission. Now you've taken it to a new place. Like,
yeah. But here's the thing, Matt. Jesus said, treat others the way you want to be treated. And so when I see a pretty
therein
lady, I
lies
was
the
like,
problem.
I would like her to treat me by doing things to my crotch. So clearly I should do things to her crotch.
No, see, you're jumping the gun because I think what needs to happen is you gotta like wade into the waters a little bit. And you know what I mean? Like you're in the shallow end of the pool, so you just splash around a bit, and then you see like how like what's the response I'm getting, and
I don't know what this is a metaphor for, but
me neither. But that's fun. And then when she's like, "No, get the fuck out of my pool," like that's when you know. All right, moving on. Neighbor's got a pool.
Now, Matt, if it's okay with you, I'm going to see if any of our viewers would also like to join in on the Ray Comfort commentary. You open to that? Or?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so going to put the link out there if anyone watching wants to hop on with us and give us your thoughts on what Ray is telling to these poor, hapless dopes. Sorry. I don't mean dopes as a demeaning thing. Like it's not their fault, but I just feel for them.
Fault. They're dope.
Yeah. Anyway, so so if God judges him by the thing that he literally never says he judges by.
All this, but I do a lot of good.
On Judgment Day, you're going to be guilty. Do you think you're a good person?
Yes, I am.
Wait, so that's how it ends? There's just like
You're going to be guilty.
Look at his face. He's like, no, not buying that shit. Look at
like
isn't this an illustration of what it's really all about? It's all about the evangelizer getting their shit out there that makes them feel good, makes them like so they can walk away and tell people I told them this awesome thing that we all agree is awesome, and he still walked away and was a scoffer. Look at that. That's a scoffer's face, Tommy.
Right. Well, yeah, because I mean, it's like, I mean, the Bible even says, like, people will scoff at this, which, which is what, like, everyone who writes anything that's like a bunch of bullshit will say, it's like, hey, someday someone's going to call this a bunch of bullshit, and then I'm going to be proven right. It's like, yeah, good job. Oh, so that's all of that poor soul. Like, if I believed in souls. All right, so
I think it's really telling that they show none of their responses. Wouldn't that be the proof that gay comfort is amazing?
All right, so now, like, we can get back to the shorts, but we got to show that one video just because you need to pay off on that sound effect.
Oh, okay.
Tease. So, all right, here, let me.
I'm gonna be looking at Kirk's face the whole time.
Let me find the video.
I can't tell if Kirk is Kirk Cameron is acting or if he's really this into Ray Comfort, which kind of makes me wonder. Wait, what wasn't it? Shit, what was it? Zidanza? Didn't Dan say something like He's like, ladies, may all of your men look at you the way Kirk is looking at Ray. He said something like that.
Yes, that was fantastic. Yeah.
Oh,
All right. So
it really did make me start to wonder if Ray is Kirk's mentor.
All right. So here I found the video, and you probably couldn't hear it on your end, but as I was queuing it up, I could hear like where it is. I'm hoping I paused this at just the right time for a wonderful word to be coming up next. Watch for its coming, but so are you prepared for
the coming of Jesus?
So you got the sound effect ready there, Matt. Okay. All right. So here we go. So the second time on the humanity.
Brain liposuction.
I just want to pause on that. Brain
liposuction? Did he just say brain liposuction?
He just said brain liposuction. I would love to give context, but I don't know if there is a possible context.
I guess it is fatty
or
tissue.
Context. Yeah, but it's like anyway. All right, so you can see the hand is there. So like you got. Are you ready?
Try back it up a little bit. There we go.
All right, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so here we go, folks. The Matt Hill director's cut of the banana reveal.
It's to have brain liposuction. Hold this, Kirk.
Do it again.
Behold
Oh, you
the
missed
atheist. Hold this, Kirk. It's to have brain liposuction. Hold this, Kirk. Behold,
Hold on.
It's to have an echo when you think. It's to have brain liposuction. Hold this, Kirk. Behold his own.
I'm gonna keep doing this until you get it right. So let's just do it one more. See if we can just get the timing here.
It's to have an echo when you think. It's to have brain liposuction. Hold this, Kirk. Behold the atheist's nightmare.
Okay, now I just want to see it again.
It's to have an echo when you think.
That was the atheist's nightmare in his ass.
Why do you have an atheist nightmare in your ass, Ray? Why?
Why are the atheists in your ass, Ray?
Have you ever lusted after an atheist, Ray?
Oh, you know he has. Don't ask him that question. He has a very specific woman in his mind if you ask him that question.
Oh, yes.
You bet he absolutely does.
Oh,
it's either recent, it's either somewhat recent in the last 10 years, or it's somebody in high school. That's my guess. Yeah. Because he strikes me as a guy who had years with his wife where he's like, everything's cool, and then he's like, oh no.
All right, so just for my own gratification, I need it one more time. So let me know when you're ready.
All right.
Here we go.
It's to have brain liposuction. Hold this, Kirk. Behold.
Look at Kirk.
He's like, hold this, Kirk, and he's like, neat is can.
So I just want to see that. So with the sound effect, and then everyone pay attention to Kirk's reaction to being handed a Coke can. That's like the
in this shot. Kirk is kind of camel toeing it right now, is he not?
Why did you draw my attention to the Kirk Canyon?
I'm concerned now. Where's his nuts? Kirk, where's your nuts?
See, I'm just hoping this is the freeze frame that like Facebook and YouTube chooses.
It's in neither pant leg, Tommy. Where is it?
Schrodinger's nutsack.
It was Chode Cameron.
So I was actually probably like Kirk Canyon. You're like,
oh, that's good. That is better. Yeah.
thank you. All right, so all right, are you ready? Because
No, wait.
this
First,
is honest. This is all for me at this point. I want the sound effect
Eric
and the look.
Trump's nickname in high school was Chode.
Just in high school? I'm surprised.
Well, all right. So Stormy Daniels said that Trump had a mushroom, right? Mushrooms, not very tall. Notoriously not very tall. And then he has a son whose name in high school is Chode. And it's and to quote Amber Ruffkin on Have I Got News for You on CNN, she's like, it's a family of chodes. And then they do a little theme song, like her and her teammate on the show. They just sing it and they stay in pitch. Like they were right there. Wow. And she's like, it runs in the family. My dad was a chode too. All right, back to Ray's fantastic ass banana.
We're killing me, man. All right, so this is just for my gratification at this point. I need the sound effect, and I need to focus on Kirk's expression when he's handed a can.
I can't get it out of my head now. My brain made the comparison of Ray's ass banana and the Magic School Bus, and so I'm just like, now I'm just like, the ass banana is gonna teach me things, and look at Kirk when he responds. He's on the Magic School Bus.
Oh, I can actually see like part of his pants are a little dark too. I think he's getting a little wet for that bus. Anyway, all right. So, are you ready?
Yep.
Finger at the ready. Are you ready to finger this bitch? I mean,
you said it, not me.
Yeah.
Liposuction. Hold this, Kurt. Behold the eighth.
I also love like that at times like all you heard was suction. Oh, so I distracted myself.
Kirk's face is awesome. He's like, "Oh, it can't. Oh, banana."
So sorry, I was distracted by that. Now I need to watch it again so I can focus more on Kirk's face. So are you ready again?
Yeah.
Suction. Hold this, Kurt. Behold, brain liposuction.
Did he say?
All right.
I liked that cut though. It sounded like he said, "Behold, brain liposuction." And then he pulls the banana out of his ass. And it's like, that's what's going to happen, right? If you buy into this, your brain is just getting sucked out of your head.
Oh, maybe that's what he's doing. Like he sucked his own brain out of his ass and it came out in banana form. He's got Kirk's bananas on the brain.
Should we worship the God that does that? Like you suck brains out of your own ass and a banana comes out. Is that good? Is that a good God that makes ass bananas?
It's like, is this our new religion? It's like, I mean,
I also really want to know if that's ass banana. That is my new favorite. Is my new Jesus. I'm
just going to leave this up there again, hoping that this is the freeze frame that YouTube or Facebook chooses. So,
do you think they're really outside?
I think they are.
I kind of think this is Ray's house.
That could be, yeah.
I mean, he's not poor.
No.
Somehow.
No.
Ass bananas pay well. You let God pull a banana out of your ass, he pays you real nice.
All right. Well, all right. So I just need this one more time. When you're ready.
Okay.
Right.
Think it's to have brain liposuction. Oh, this bit. Behold, the atheist's night.
All right. That time I was fully able to appreciate the sound and Kirk's face. Like this was healing for me, man. This was, yeah.
They're both
tiny.
They're both wearing some tighter pants. This is a
Yeah.
weird. This is a weird camera angle.
Yeah, I'd cut back to it, but it's disturbing. All right. Did you want to do any more shorts? Or
how do I share my screen?
well, here, I'll stop sharing mine. So along the bottom there, like, so there's the mic, the camera, and then the screen share thing.
All right. There it is.
But this is a fantastic point. Only a good God can make ass bananas.
Are we sure? I mean, our ass banana is good. I mean, they're impressive.
I mean, is this like the new kind of theodicy? Like, what if I don't have an ass banana? Is God really good at that point?
All right, let's play around with this. All right. Let's fuck me. I don't know how to do this.
No, thank you.
So I have another window. I don't want to play it. It's just the screenshot is great to me.
Yeah. I mean, Susan's
right,
fairly sure, so good enough for me.
I can't.
It's like, well, I wouldn't have to covet my neighbor's ass banana if God would just give me my own.
That's true. Well,
I mean, clearly he wants me to covet Ray's ass banana.
That sounds.
It's like
sounds like an 1800s like campaign slogan. Like rabbit average in every pot, and a banana in every ass.
See, here's the thing. I literally do have bananas like right there. Like, should I go and grab them and like do a gag now that I've explained what it is, or
a little risque? Why can't I show a tab? I want to share a tab. Let me share a tab. Did something pop up just now?
Yeah, but it's just like a blank gray screen.
Well, shit. Anyway, all right. So I'll paint a little word picture here. So I went looking for stuff because I hadn't really seen much. I wanted to see if some apologists would defend colonialism, and they don't. But they like to think they are. And really, they just are assholes to brown people. That's just usually how it goes. All right, so there's this guy. he teaches like sermons or some shit, and you can pay for them online, because that's what Jesus would do. And so the title of this short is Christianity a Tool of Colonialism? Now, this guy is in what looks like Satan's waiting room. And he's in a room with like some like dark walnut wainscoting going on. And then above it is some red wallpaper with like a gold kind of mystic looking empire kind of print on it. He's using a desk like it's a podium, but it's just the short end of a desk. I'm like, is this his room? There's a giant TV screen in it, which is just bondage porn all the time based on the rest of the room. And So none of it makes sense. Like his room looks aggressively. It looks very assaulty.
Yeah.
Oh, his conclusion is Christianity is not colonial in any way because there's nothing in the Bible that advocates for it, except if you look at the verse where it says, "Go and make disciples of all nations." Free will in making people believe something or say they do. Also, the Quran has a similar verse in one of the surahs, but um, it's you fight non-believers, and you can interpret the word fight different ways. But you fight non-believers so that they will willingly humble themselves, which is different than making disciples.
Right. Exactly. Now, so I was scrolling through like some more shorts on this Ray Comfort Just Witnessing channel, and there's one, the title definitely caught my eye: The Hidden Origins of Cancer.
Ooh, what is it? Is it the victim's fault? I'll bet it's the victim's fault.
I want to hear what Ray Comfort has to say about cancer, won't you?
The serpent caused it, I think, probably.
Right.
Or Eve did it. Eve did it, I'll bet is the answer to the cancer.
I mean, can it be anything else, really? All right.
No.
So
let's just. They're
right,
the real threat.
Let's hear him out.
Okay.
The word cancer terrifies most of us, and for good reason. It strikes
most of us. Like
the rest of us are awesome.
Like, who was he thinking is an exception here? Anyway, it strikes
fear in us because of what it does. It strips human beings of their dignity, their youthful looks, their health.
What? Not necessarily your dignity, your youthful looks. So cool, you fascist.
Like when I mean, I had cancer. Did I ever lose my dignity? Did my looks ever change? Or
no, these are things that can happen, but to some degree they're a choice. Like, what do you peg your dignity to? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, okay, and very often in your life. Okay, yeah, fair enough. It does
often their very life. The word cancer is actually mentioned in the Bible, but it's only a one-time mention.
Is it?
It's used as being analogous for the spreading of erroneous teaching.
Wait, was that
and
a
message
word?
Will spread
analogous? Is that what he said?
Let's
analogous?
See. But it's only a one-time mention, and it's used as being analogous for the spreading of.
That's not a word. Even is that a word?
An allegorous.
Is that like off-brand licorice? Like what?
Like, well, let's. It's one of those things like. Do you like blame the captioning or like? But no, but that's actually how he said it. Let's listen.
That's great.
Analogous for the spreading of erroneous teaching.
Yeah.
For the spreading of erroneous teaching. As being analogous for the spreading of erroneous teaching. And their message will spread like cancer. Hymenaeus and Philetus are of this sort who have strayed concerning the truth.
Oh wait,
Scripture warns that the bad teaching
wait, let's
of these
stop it for a second. It is a word, analogous.
Used as being analogous.
Yeah, okay, Latin. What the fuck is the definition? Okay. It's an adjective that means the same as but it means allegorical. So that word does not mean what he thinks it means. He just slurred his words, and the captions were like, this word, I guess.
Yeah. Now, as far as like, okay, it doesn't terrify everyone. Like, so Susan makes a good point here. Okay, it doesn't terrify Deadpool. Fair enough.
That was a great movie.
Yeah. It's like, oh, allegorous. No, still not. Apparently. But yes, this is what I thought. It's like he's trying to say analogous, but failing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also funny that he really nailed saying a different wrong word.
Fucking Kiwis. What? Anyway.
Hey, Cupies?
For the spreading of erroneous teaching. And their message will spread like cancer. Hymenaeus and Philetus are of this sort who have strayed concerning the truth. Scripture warns that the bad teaching of these two men would spread like cancer. That's what this disease did 2,000 years ago, and that's what it still does today. The word cancer...
What?
Wait. So...
He just swapped words at the very end. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
Or meanings,
so
I
he
mean?
didn't... So he didn't actually explain the origins of cancer.
No.
This is one of the dumbest videos I've ever seen in my entire life.
He's like, back when there was also cancer, used in a metaphorical way, which means there must have also been cancer. I bet that word does not mean cancer. It probably just means like consuming sickness, because that's what they called tuberculosis and cancer. Because all they knew was you were sick and you got worse until you died. Like, so it was called like consumption or consuming sickness.
Yeah, well, even like cancer, like all the different kinds of cancer, like they're all like so different, but we just kind of come up with one word to kind of describe all of them, even though they're not all really the same thing.
Like pancreatic cancer that my uncle had, basically you can't detect it until you're going to die. Like,
yeah.
And then melanoma is also different, because if it spreads, it's a much bigger deal than if like lung cancer spreads or something. Melanoma just desperately wants to be everything.
Yep. It tried so hard.
Good try.
I mean, it did get most places in me, but
I still think when you I still think it was a turning point for your illness when you basically kind of loved your cancer. I think that caused your body to do different things with it than to fight it. Does that make sense? Because that is your mind saying it, but you aren't just your mind. You are also the combination of the rest of you. It was kind of like telling your body, no, like, that's still us. Sure, it's cancer, but it's still us. Maybe we can convince it.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm trying to remember when exactly I did that.
Because you did tell me that you came to the conclusion that you love your cancer. That felt like a big deal. Nobody says that or does that.
Yeah, but also the thing is, like, remembering like what I was basing that on is now something I no longer even agree with.
Well, maybe that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like maybe it was that perspective that helped. Not what the perspective was based on, but you looking at this other part of you as part of you.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I still credit the immunotherapy, but who knows, really?
But it's a possibility. That's all I'm saying. I don't see how it could hurt. I mean, even if it does nothing, like that kind of perspective, I think it would help somebody feel less like a victim. You know, kind of exercising some agency in the process.
Yeah. Which I guess maybe that's like, as far as helping, I guess the way I look at it, maybe all it helped was just like my mindset. Like when it came to like the the actual literal cancer itself, because like you said, like probably no one does that, but also apparently like with these like treatments that I've been getting and everything, like apparently like my results are becoming more common, but I doubt it's because all the rest of those people who are also seeing these results also chose to love their cancer. I could be wrong, but
I think it's okay. Even if it didn't, I'm not moving the goalpost here. Even if it didn't do anything for the actual physical cancer, it did do a ton for your experience of going through it. And if that was like the last, if it had played out this way, where that was like the last part of your life, like that's a great way to go out. You know what I mean? Self-acceptance to kind of an extreme degree.
Yeah. Now I will say, like I said, like I had my body scans recently. I'm still like totally in remission, no signs of cancer anywhere. I will say, if it does ever come back, I will not have that same attitude.
No,
I'll tell you that right now. But
I don't want to tell anybody what attitude to have. Because you can't feel how you don't. So
that's true. That's true.
Feel how you do, and
yeah. So I guess like to tie that back into the whole like theme of evangelism, it's like, look, like you're trying to convince this person to feel a way that they don't, and they can't. So stop. There's my TED talk on evangelism right there.
There aren't any, are there, on evangelism?
But yeah, I think, yeah, because I think if you know, non-existo forbid, if I ever do, you know, if my cancer like recurs or whatever the term is, like I think I might be able to achieve that level of acceptance, but without like, because like when I had that mindset of I love my cancer, like at the time, like I felt like that's what I was supposed to do, just like based on where my beliefs were at the time.
But it also seemed like you, like that was you at the time.
Yeah, it was me at the time, but I'm just saying like that's no longer me. I would accept it, but I was like I mean, and depending on how you define these things, some people might say, well, this is the same thing as saying that you love it. But I would just say, okay, it really would just be at the level, okay, this is a thing that's happening. I'm going to try to make the best of it, remain positive, feel how I feel, but also not feel like the obligation to remain positive, because like that's the other thing. Like I kind of feel like if my cancer ever does come back, like as much as people like said before, like how like brave I was and how well I was handling it, like I kind of envision myself like if it ever does come back, just being like fuck it, like this sucks, I am going to embrace that feeling. Like I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna try to be brave, I'm not gonna try to be inspirational, I'm just gonna be like fuck. You know,
and weirdly looking on the bright side helps, like trying to find the positive does actually impact cancer results.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess for me, like my attitude will just be like, it's really hard to say, but
also, who's to say that the positive attitude wasn't kind of a ripple before the pebble hits the pond, kind of thing? Because the present is sticky and not. The present includes like part of the past and part of the future. There's no like strict delineation. So maybe the positive attitude isn't what causes the cancer to go well. maybe it's like an echo of the future before it happens.
Yeah. Ooh.
Because all right, like here's a little example. The South is about to get fucked by global warming. And falling apart right now. That's where a lot of the MAGA, like the rabid MAGA people who are like, you just can't prove Trump wrong, even when you're like, here's the thing he said, here's another thing he said, these are different. Then they're like apologetics it away, and
right.
I don't know. You know, like maybe people are losing their shit because global warming is about to wreck things. You know what I mean? Like on some kind of gut level, we know
Yeah.
we're going to have things to stress about, and so we start behaving a certain way in advance. Because we really are just the planet peopling. We are a fruit of the planet, and so
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But so so back to the whole like how my perspectives were like while I was going through cancer and how that may have affected things. Like I feel like I have to say this, like not to like poo-poo like all the whole like how your like mindset affects outcomes, but honestly, as I look back on it, it's almost like the outcomes went completely contrary to what a lot of my expectations were at the time. Because at first I was like, okay, we found cancer, but it's like, looks like maybe they removed all of it. Just going through some precautions. I'm going to be fine. And then it turns out I was stage 4. But then at the time when and so I went stage 4, and then they also found it in my heart. So like
They
kind
were
of
like,
in
"That's
between
neat."
there, I was still kind of maintaining. Yeah. So basically in between, it was about like a month and a half in between when they found out I was going stage 4 and then when they found the tumor in my heart. In that period, that's where I was kind of having that like love my cancer, positive thinking, all that. But once I found it in my heart, then that's when my mind really turned to, okay, I'm going to die. And then I
But
got
you said it
better.
was also
So
weird
if
that
I
they were
got
not
better from the
impressed it was in
minds,
your heart, or like they were impressed but not how you thought they would be.
well, yes and no. I mean, because it was at that point where they like switched to like they switched my treatment to something much more aggressive, and it was, yeah. Looking back at like some of my memory gets a little mixed with like
Mhm.
what happened when and when they were thinking what when. But basically, my point is, to me, my experience kind of like refutes that whole like your attitude determines the outcome kind of thing, or like your expectations kind of manifest reality, or however you want to put it. Because like literally, it was like when I thought I was doing fine, that's when it turned out I actually wasn't. But then when I was convinced I was going to die, then I went into remission. So
But
yeah, so like I said, there was a certain
that
point where I was trying to
acceptance
have
is
that
good
whole.
though. You know, It-
Yeah, but to me that like for some people who like will say the whole like what you believe like will manifest in reality. So if you believe you're going to
no,
be
it's
fine,
not
you're going
that
to be fine.
easy.
But if you believe you're not, then
Even if
you're
that's
not.
true, it's not that
Yeah,
easy.
it's yeah. So it's
I
yeah. I mean, because for me, like it's my experience, like kind of refuted like so many narratives. Even going back to the whole Christian thing, it's like once like people like started like having like prayer vigils and stuff and like prayer meetings and circles and whatever that I participated in, it was after those that I went stage 4. And then I was like, I don't know if I believe any of this stuff anymore. Then I went into remission. So
but that's still radical acceptance when you're like, I don't know whether it has good like
yeah,
physical ailment outcomes or not. I think it's really good for our experience of our existence to accept what's happening. Um, I've noticed over and
yeah,
over again, whenever I'm not accepting what's happening and I'm avoiding it or whatever, it causes mental health problems for me. like with something I figured out like within the last week. Like some of the sensory stuff that at least my daughter does that overloads me. I realized the reason why it still bothers me sometimes, but what was putting it way over the top was I was in denial about her having intellectual disabilities and that like she was just being her, and that was like what was making the sensory stuff worse, was because I not only was I bothered that she listens to two different screen devices pretty loudly at the same time, and that's like one of her coping mechanisms. That can be a lot, especially when it's adults doing YouTube videos going in like little kid voices. I just want to hurt all of them. But being in denial and not accepting certain things put me way over the top with that. So I think accepting what's happening is good, no matter the outcome.
Yeah. So obviously, as much of a believer in like mindsets and how that can at least affect your perception of a situation, which can in some cases ultimately affect the situation itself. Like I'm still obvious. I just don't see any way to like really be like an absolutist about that sort of thing, because like people say like, well, like your attitude like manifests reality, and like to like the point of like whatever you think of a situation, that's how it's going to turn out. It's like I don't care what your mindset is. Like if you like jump off like the top story of a 300-foot building and hit the ground, like no matter what your mindset is, like you're not going to survive that.
Maybe if you're a true believer, until you hit the ground, that might be the most thrilling, like life-giving experience of like your whole life, and then so like
it's
like that thrill is real in that person's mind during that time, and so they shouldn't have jumped. So if that belief compelled them to jump, that's bad. But like, what if you happen to be falling off of a building, no fault of your own, and and you're just thrilled the whole way down because you're going to be fine. You're not, but like, would you rather freak out the rest of the way down?
Yeah.
That's the argument I think people will give for Christianity. Like, even if it's not true, like, isn't it at least beneficial that like people have happy good times?
Yeah, maybe, but again, like, but if you die afterwards, then it really doesn't matter what you thought.
Except that because
that's like my thought.
If you thought it was going to prevent your death, that's different.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, I've heard people even express the ideas, like, to the fact, like, how much like our minds and outlook really controls reality, and like, yeah, sure it does to an extent, but there's some people who take it to the point where like, well, the only reason we even die is because we think we're going to die. It's like, okay, but how many people like have died that like totally did not see it coming at all?
Like that's
and who weren't even thinking, like they weren't even thinking about death at all. Then all of a sudden, like they were shot or they got in a car wreck.
That's also like, a spiritual perspective that only the first world could have. Like third world is not going, oh, it's a famine because I want it to be a famine. Like, no, makes no sense.
Exactly.
If all of us would just decide we don't want there to be a famine, no, you wouldn't even get anywhere with that idea, because of course no one wants there to be a famine, yet there still is. Like,
right? Yeah. So to me, like this way of thinking, like it has its limits, much like a lot of Christianity does. Because like Christians will say, like, well, yeah, pray for something and then you'll get it, and like, okay, but clearly, like praying like again, going back to the whole, I'm just going to jump off a 300-foot building and just on the whole way down pray that
Or
I
you're for
don't
damn
die.
sure
It's
that
like
like Western
I think
North
most
Carolina was
Christians,
praying when Helene came up there. Uh,
right? Yeah, and this because this is, yeah, like here's the other thing that like gets me about like because we mentioned last week like the people like in anticipation of it sending out these prayers of like rebuking the storm. Like there's the thing, like I want to see like all those Christians who prayed those prayers and like shared those posts about those prayers. Like are they talking about those prayers and how they turned out this week? Any of them?
except that the
But
hurricane could have been worse than it
what kills
was,
me,
but the fact
yeah,
that it
but
jumped
here's
from
the
a
thing that kills
category
me,
2
like
to a category 5 in a matter of hours is nuts. Also, because it did that, there are some conservatives who believe, with Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG, that the government seeded the hurricane with chemicals, and that's what made it jump. And it's all so that lithium mining could happen in Florida. That's not where lithium goes. Lithium notoriously found in sand.
right? Okay, but going back to like those people like praying those prayers of rebuke against storm. So here's the part that killed me. It's like that really tells me, okay, do you actually believe that your prayers actually have power and like it's based on the parameters you're putting on it? But for the people who like were praying these strong prayers in faith, but then like literally they would just say things like, and we hope that like the damage done is minimal and that like it'll be reduced like
compared to what?
Okay, if you're praying for that, why are you not praying for no damage at all? But no, you're praying for these things
God
that are
can't
like
do
so
everything.
vague that you can right? But it's like, well, we just pray that the damage is minimized because then at that point, no matter what happens, you can tell yourself in your head, well, it could have been
Tommy,
worse.
there needs to be some damage because of the gays. Not to mention the TBQ. I think it really amuses me
that killed me. Thank you.
When I was talking to people about when I was talking to the two.
I love how you separated them out. Not to mention the TBQ.
When I was talking to the prayer team guys when they were like the intake interview to see if I was worthy, when I was talking about apparently I got flagged because at some point in the past, I wasn't even sure if I was going to get on it. I just wanted to have the intake conversation a couple of years ago. Make them go through that. Make them tell me I'm not worthy. And
there you
go. So one of the big hangups was I was queer affirming, but they were only able to talk about LGBTQ rights in terms of gay, and it was because they're just now in that circle comfortable with using the word gay. We've accepted it's a thing, and so now like when you get to like the rest of that like the spectrum, they're just like, oh, gay. Like they're just like, there's too many things. First of all, it's a lot of letters to understand, but we can say USAF real easily or things like that. And
yeah, which again, like total side tangent on. I mean, this is probably several side tangents, but for all the people who keep like mocking, like how they keep adding letters and like I
They
can't
stopped
keep
adding
track of it.
letters
Well,
a
here's
long
the thing.
time
They
ago,
only
first of
add
all.
letters. Well, also, like every letter that's added is representative of a group of people that you are
Yeah.
mistreating. So if you're tired of them adding letters, stop mistreating people.
Stop
It's
giving them a
really
reason to
that
use
simple.
it, unionize.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's my statement on that. All right.
Yeah.
So
But the Empire is always right, Tommy.
So are
The
you
Empire is
curious
always
about
right.
like
Jesus is the
what's that?
Empire.
Now before we go, are you curious about what it was that shook Candace Cameron's faith? Or are you just wanting to call it a
Would it be
night on this?
sexist to say the best orgasm of her life? Or am I just saying that because I kind of had a crush on her, when back in the day.
Who didn't? Like who that was
Right.
interested in
Yeah,
women
she was.
didn't?
I think we all
Really?
thought she was the only older woman older woman in quotes at the time who would talk to us. And so we're like, she would talk to me. She's my favorite. It's like,
Pretty much.
I had a weird thing for Kimmy though. I think it was the
Yeah.
ADHD.
Yeah, me too. Actually, all right. So it's only
Like
43
clearly,
seconds.
Kimmy
You
had her
wanna
shit together
give it
more
a-
than
give it a-
anybody else in the show. She didn't care.
Right. All right. So do we want to watch Candace here for like 43 seconds to kind of close us out tonight, or?
Yeah, go ahead. Pull it out tonight.
All right.
Who is that? Is that Kirk?
That's Kirk. So it's like brother and sister. I'm assuming they're not going to be talking as much about.
Why is
like,
his buzz cut
orgasms
shiny?
and stuff?
What the fuck is happening here? Are those like whitish gray spots?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's getting
already
gray.
gray.
It's all right. All right. So let's see what they have.
And I realized I've never read the Bible before. How can I teach my kids about God if I don't really know about God? And then I had this kind of cool brother.
Well, if God cares about you, why did he not tell you about himself? Why did you have to read a book?
I was hung up on the kind of
to
cool
know
brother.
about God.
You mean the one that's paying you to be here right now?
Paying you to say that, probably. Yeah.
That
Very cool.
that called me one time and said, like, hey, I'm sending you this book that's rocked my world, and I really hope that you'll read it. I read that book and it rocked
What's with
my
this music?
world.
And that's
What's
Was
with
it
this music?
Shades of
Like,
Grey?
like some swashbuckling. Like, what island are they conquering? Like,
Oh.
so great.
I'm very grateful you sent me that book.
Oh, I'm so grateful that Ray Comfort wrote it because it's
I legit thought it was the Bible that they were talking about. I was like, it's like, what other
No.
book could they possibly be talking about? Oh, apparently, like Ray Comfort is a better author than God. Which, I mean, if Ray can produce bananas out of
that is
nothing,
the way of the master, is it
then,
not?
I mean, oh, Ray's anus is the gift that keeps on giving.
Cornucopia.
it's about not only national revival, a worldwide revival, but it starts with a personal revival.
Why was Ray Comfort the only colored person in that picture? That's weird.
Oh, it hurts so much. Oh, fuck.
Why was everybody else like a monotone poop color? Did you see that? Everybody else was like sepia brown.
Yeah.
Look at no, they're just washed out. Oh, now we know why Ray Comfort liked this picture, because like he is the special one. Everyone else is desaturated and washed out.
Okay, but doesn't it look like he was like actually photoshopped into this though? Like that's how much he's
No, you're
standing
right.
out there.
Okay, because the person in front of him doesn't look, from this angle, doesn't look so much closer to the camera that they should be that much bigger than him. This could
Yeah.
totally be real,
Yeah.
and because they washed it out, they flattened the depth of it, and that's what's happening. But wait! Look who's immediately to his left. Is that a giant? Compared to him,
Oh yeah, like
he's never been in a
yeah.
crowd that big on the street. They plugged his ass in there.
I mean, even like the people yeah, like yeah, none of this makes sense at all.
That's probably him doing
So
his like little street evangelism stuff. Because he's man of the people. You know, he's got his dark T-shirt on underneath his open denim, and that's absolutely him trying to blend in with the Spring Breakers somewhere.
mm-hmm.
Because
Oh, for
dads wear
right,
long
well,
sleeve denim to the beach.
yeah.
Because they're old and it's chilly. I find myself wearing like really sick flannel,
Right.
really sick flannel, and thick flannel inside my house. And the thermostat says it's the exact same temperature as it was yesterday, but because it's much colder outside, I need a fleece now in my house.
Oh yeah, I can relate. Yeah.
I
right,
think
well,
for middle-aged women, I think the true honest lingerie would probably be fleece. You know what I mean? Like a Target fleece.
yeah,
Yeah, something like that.
dig it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I could be into that. So
Yeah, it just makes sense. Because seriously, what did people do in the olden times when they were native to a land and they had the animal skins? Like, what, a sexy pelt? Like, like
yeah, why not? Yeah.
a merkin.
All right. Well, I don't think I can take any more of Ray. I don't know about you, but and I need to work in about
This is a
7.5
marathon
hours.
broadcast.
So, yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for those of you who hung out with us tonight. Definitely appreciate that. But yeah. So yeah, evangelism, basically colonialism. Let people have their own lives and just be their own story without you inserting yourself into it / completely taking it over. I guess is the
I didn't say this earlier. I want to add it here. I did that back and forth of the street evangelist and the guy from Guyana or Ghana. I don't know how you say it. Ghana, I think. Fucking lost my train of thought. Oh, they were talking about how. So the black guy from Africa he's Muslim, and this guy was talking about how like Christianity is better than Islam because, in other words, white people. But he wasn't really saying that.
yeah.
And he said, well, his argument, the white guy Christian's argument was Muslims are doing what their book tells them to do when they fight people for Allah. Not mentioning that in the Quran it says that people so they will willingly do this, which is definitely a Christian one where you make them a disciple. So So he's saying because Islam is being obedient to their book, and they were doing horrendous things, that's worse than the Christians not following their book, in his opinion, with colonizing other areas. And the black guy's thing was like, isn't it worse for Christianity that they said they were following it and they were able to do this, where like the Muslim guys say they're doing this because of this and they do it, and but they did the same thing that, you know what I mean, that their book told them to do. Like, which is worse? Like the one, like the hypocrites or the ones that follow their book? And the Christian guy was like, well, they're not the real Christians. If you really follow the Bible, they wouldn't do that. So one was moving the goalpost, and the other one was like, do you realize the argument you're making?
Probably not. Man.
Also, the guy from that area was he was off and on beside himself, wondering why he was talking to this man. Like, because he's like, let's have a conversation. Let's just have a conversation. And then the apologist guy was he just wanted to pontificate in response. So he's like, you say your thing, and then I'll say my thing. And the guy's like, can't we? He's like, can't I just
thing's up here.
Say something and you respond? And then we have a little back and forth, like a conversation. And the other guy's like, we are having a back and forth. So this one guy conversationally just shares his side, and then the evangelist, the apologist guy, he's like, so this man is telling me, like, and then he insults him. He's like, so either he's ignorant or he's a fool. And and then the black guy's just like, are you fucking kidding me, this guy?
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that.
And you hear him going, can't we just, like, we have a conversation? Like, I don't interrupt you, you don't interrupt me, we have a little bit of back and forth. And he's like, no. The other guy's like, this is a debate. You say your piece, and then I say my piece, and you can't interrupt me, even if I'm totally mischaracterizing your viewpoint. You wait until your turn
Don't you dare
I
correct
do a little
me.
gish galloping, so that like your turn is confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have
he
to
was
watch
basically
that, I
acting
guess.
like a colonizer, telling the native guy what really happened. And here's what you're really thinking. And it's like, isn't that exactly what you did when you came here and you were doing all the things? And you're like, no, your history doesn't matter because your history is just part of our history. Because we win. And the phrase winning hearts and minds,
all right,
in a military situation is gross, because then you're not just trying to colonize a land, you're trying to colonize hearts and minds. And that's what American evangelicalism, that's what they try to do. They're trying to conquer hearts and minds. Not okay.
Basically.
Let the argument speak for itself. If it can't, stop.
Right. Yeah, like stop trying to sell Jesus and like your faith. Like, it's like, first of all, like especially here in America, like who hasn't heard of it? So like if people aren't accepting it, it's just need to hear like the real gospel and like hear what it's really like. No, like we've all heard it. It's like if we're not accepting it, we don't accept it. It's really as simple as that. Like you trying harder, it maybe just makes it worse.
And I think if there is a God, he's not going to be found he, whatever, it, she. Pronouns suck at this point.
Mm-hmm.
When you're trying to use it for something like that.
Yeah.
If there is a God, if there is some like, if what we sense as divine is a real something, then we should just pool our resources and whatever helps somebody feel closer to that divine thing. Like we should listen to their story and take it into consideration, and maybe we compile other people's stories around us, and then that becomes part of our collective story, and we have a connection to the story as if it's real. But then whether or not it's real becomes a nonsense question, and that's kind of what a lot of indigenous religions were like. They were valuable because it tied everybody to their location and to each other. And I don't think that's happening like anymore. Like once a colonial influence comes in and starts like shaping something, then it's no longer about connecting to your people through a story, because what's your people doesn't even make sense anymore. Because it's a people that was supplanted from wherever they came from to colonize where they are, and so it's kind of like when religion becomes a tool of colonization. Kind of, it's still a red flag though that a lot of Christians can do terrible things.
A bit, yeah,
and think they're still and think they're following, whatever the teachings are.
Yeah,
there's a problem. There's a problem in the teaching.
Yeah, at least if for no other reason that it's not stopping all these terrible things from happening. So
yeah,
or a problem with the God itself, who's not stopping all the terrible things from happening.
There's even violent Buddhists, so you can call up anything for violence, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think my brain stopped about 20 minutes ago. So
yeah, mine just started to get ethereal and a lot of thoughts happening. They're not exactly connected.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, but yeah, this was for an episode where, like, honestly, once we were only about an hour in, I was like, I don't know if we have much more else to say. I was wrong. So who knows what we'll be talking about next week? But we do know, like, as much as like based on like things that have happened in the past, how hesitant I am to like say here's what we're going to be talking about 2 weeks from now. We do have our next guest lined up, the one and only Bishop Jamel Broadnax.
A bishop, you say?
Yes, the conscious bishop, as he goes by on the interwebs. Plans on joining us on October 30th. So
as
2 weeks
opposed
from
to the
tonight.
unconscious one.
Yeah, those are no fun to talk to.
Yeah,
they just snore and drool.
Or are they, because they've hit the sacramental wine hard? Does it make them more fun, or?
Well, let's see if we can get him to be unconscious during the course of the evening. Anyway, yeah, so that's coming up in 2 weeks. Look forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. Anyway,
I need to. Fuck! I lost a vocabulary word. I need to watch some of his stuff. Find a better word.
Well, and some of his stuff, he actually had me on his show. Like, I don't remember how long ago it was. It was a while ago, but it was a good time. I enjoyed talking to him. So it'll be a good chat. I think we plan on talking about things like indoctrination and like if you're brought up in a religion and like told to believe certain things like from an early age, like are they really your thoughts or are you just accepting things that people told you?
Yeah.
Does that strip you of your autonomy for like thinking your own thoughts, stuff like that. But yeah, that'll be a good time. But any other parting or closing thoughts on this evening's topics?
I don't know. Kind of just something that I just thought of is that there's a colonial boomerang where whatever methods and technology is used to oppress the people in the colony, the undesirables in the colonial area, eventually those techniques and methods come back and are used on the empire's citizens. There's wonder what that means in the context of Christian evangelism, because it is kind of a colonial enterprise trying to like conquer hearts and minds. So, I think we kind of saw that in our old church, where the methods that used to be used on just the unwashed was used internally. Like we were watching little ads for like church functions or volunteer things or what Jesus did in this person's life, but it was all orchestrated like propaganda. It was like internal evangelizing where you just indoctrinate people more and more and do it in a way that doesn't come across like that. It's kind of a feedback loop where it's like the church kind of conquering itself. Yeah, colonialism's bad, kids.
Yep. TLDR.
Evangelism is also bad, unless you're sure you have the right answer, and then fuck you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. My I guess ultimate takeaway from this is like let people's lives be their own lives. Like you don't need to make it about you. That's really what it comes down to.
Your version of Jesus.
Yeah. Which ultimately is you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Otherwise, may your things and stuff be forever with your people.
Indeed. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight, folks. We'll see you next week. Have a good night and a good week, and stop trying to colonize other people's stories. Cool.